Wrestling fans, I'm Dan Marty.
And this is the man of the hour, Leo Rush.
It's all over BostonWrestling.com and our social media. But Leo, brother, they got to check out some of this merch.
They got to.
Check it out, fans, right now available on eBay. You can add this to your collection. Support Wrestling Insiders and keep wrestling legends working on eBay. Get this WWE NXT TakeOver War Games 2020 11x14 limited edition autograph poster signed by everyone on the event. Number 23 of only 100 made. Includes signatures from the Undisputed Era: Johnny Gargano, Damian Priest, Tommaso Ciampa, Timothy Thatcher, Io Shirai, Tony Storm, Rhea Ripley, Dexter, Loomis, and more. Comes with authentication hologram on the back of the poster. Also comes with mystery autographed 8x10 and an on-air shout-out from WWE Hall of Famer, Mr. USA, Tony Atlas, on Wrestling Insiders at your house. Get it now. Boston Wrestling Sports and the MWF explodes into a new year of unknown with professional wrestling content galore, and we need you to join our family. Every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. after we review the previous night's Monday Night Raw, it's Wrestling Insiders at your house with the unpredictable WWE Hall of Famer, Mr. USA, Tony Atlas. Wednesday nights after WWE, NXT, and AEW at 10 p.m., you never know who's going to show up on Wrestling Insiders Special Edition. Every Thursday night at 10 p.m. after our NXT and Dynamite review, it's Marty Jannetty's No Holds Barred Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll journey through the 80s and 90s on Wrestling Insiders Party with Marty. Friday nights after the lights go down at the Thunderdome on SmackDown, it's John Cena Sr.'s Wrestling Insiders Fabulous Fridays. Plus, look for classic clips, bonus live episodes, pay-per-view watch-alongs, and more. If you want early, ad-free access to all of our Wrestling Insider talk shows, our acclaimed studio shoot interview DVD library, and to help keep wrestling legends working during the worst of times, for less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks, join our growing family at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. Expect the unexpected in 2021.
This is Mick Foley.
This is Harley Race.
This is Shelton Benjamin.
This is Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
This is the Monster Abyss.
And this is Daniel Bryan.
This is JBL, and you're watching the MWF.
Be there live.
Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, welcome to another late, or maybe I should say later night edition of Wrestling Insiders Week in Review. Dan Marty here at MWF Studios, downtown Melrose, Massachusetts, in the zip code of Champions 02176. Hopefully coming to you tonight, fresh off of our Impact Wrestling Sacrifice Watch-Along. That was the plan. However, as we know from last week's endeavor with the AEW Revolution, things can change last minute. This is being pre-taped. I hope all is well wherever you are. It has been a miserable week for yours truly. Enjoyed the Sunshine State, got some work done, enjoyed time a little bit, which is a rarity for but right around a week ago, as this program was going on, I had an e-exchange. I don't even remember if it was text or email at this point, and it has been a long, miserable, excruciating 7 days, trying to keep a smile on my face to add to your enjoyment tonight as we have another blockbuster episode. If you're unfamiliar with Wrestling Insiders Week in Review, let's give you the rundown. We realize that aside from all of the wrestling content that's available to you in 2021, there's also a little something called life, and it's a lot to commit to not one, not two, not three, but four of our original in-studio shoot interview Wrestling Insiders episodes each week. So Saturdays, we get together for one giant, supersized episode and watch all of them together, usually at 10 p.m., but this was a rare pay-per-view Saturday, so it's a little later this week. As the road to WrestleMania continues, we have something very special planned in Tampa to bring you some extraordinary guests, live episodes, cyber autograph signings, and more from the home of WrestleMania 37. It's more important than ever than fans get involved in what we're trying to do in various ways. I'm going to run them down really quick before we get to all the good stuff. Hit the thumbs up button on each and every video if you enjoy them. Let YouTube know you enjoy what we're doing, so they'll showcase our content to more and more fans that have no idea we exist. If you don't already, subscribe to the channel. It's absolutely free. Click that little bell for notifications so you never miss a video. Again, it tells YouTube that you enjoy what we're doing. Maybe most important of all, share the links to our videos. Share them on Facebook, share them on Twitter, share them on online wrestling groups, on Reddit, on popular wrestling websites. There are millions of fans that don't know we exist, but once they do find us, they will love us like you guys do. It's very, very important if you could to share that link. Also, the gray Super Chat button is open for business. It is that gray little $ button underneath the premiere, the chat box that we have going on right now if you're with us Saturday night. Any amount helps, huge. You can also use PayPal if you're not with us during the premiere at bw@bostonwrestling.com. PayPal takes a much smaller percentage than YouTube, cough, cough. Our eBay store is loaded with awesome wrestling merchandise with superstars from every generation. Each purchase helps us bring you more great content and includes an on-air shout-out from WWE Hall of Famer Mr. USA Tony Atlas, who needs cameo, right? Get some great merchandise, get a shout-out from the Hoffer. Last and certainly not least, join our family, our growing family, at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling, where for less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks, you get early, ad-free access to our Wrestling Insider programs each week. Our acclaimed Studio Shoot interview DVD library is seen by millions online and millions more on The Howard Stern Show. You get Patreon-exclusive videos and the knowledge that you, yes you, are helping keep wrestling legends working. Again, find us at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. On to the show tonight. It is a loaded one. We kick it off with WWE Hall of Famer Mr. USA Tony Atlas for a mature-themed program that started off as a discussion of Tony breaking into wrestling with Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling as a teenager. And as usual, Tony goes all over the map with this one. Put the women and children to bed. This one could even make Marty Jannetty blush. Wrestling fans, I'm Dan Marty along with Tony Atlas. Tony continues to try and navigate through that bag over there. Tony, what are you hustling over there?
Huh?
What are you hustling over there? You're
the
up.
future.
Your future.
The future. Our future, too.
What, 11 by 17 drawings we're going to be selling in a little bit? What's this now? Oh, in and out, baby. Just like you and the women back in the 60s
This
and
is
70s.
gonna be my new Facebook
in
page.
underground Atlanta.
So if you see this logo, that is Tony Atlas logo.
The real Tony Atlas. In and out, just like the hamburger
no,
joint.
No, not in. Just in, out.
What is that thing in the middle?
It's a
then?
lightning bolt.
Oh, I thought it was an N.
No, it's a lightning bolt.
Oh, all right. Oh. And you spelt your name right.
I did.
Unlike the Ultimate Warrior issue
What
we
about
ran
out?
into.
Did I get that
and
right?
Saba Simba issues we ran into in the past.
So this is gonna be my new logo.
I like
so
it.
When you see this logo, you know that's the website.
We're going to see it on Facebook, Twitter, everywhere.
Facebook.
Now, what does in out mean?
In is all the upcoming, not just wrestlers, all the upcoming musicians, anybody in the entertainment business, musicians, football players, baseball, basketball. You're into any type of entertainment. You're playing a band. That's the end, because you're coming into the business. The out is all of us that is going out of the business. Those that have been there and we're on our way out, like Marty Jannetty, Tony Atlas.
Oh, Marty Jannetty's going to be on.
Well, he can be.
Okay.
We can have our debate on that.
Now, you're going to try and do your own show without me?
You can be on that.
My heart is going to break.
No, we can.
How are you going to do it?
We do it on my Facebook page.
But I mean, how are you planning on doing it? With a cell phone? Or, I mean, you don't exactly have video equipment up on Millionaires Boulevard in Auburn, Maine.
I do now.
You really? We'll have to talk off the air about that.
I've been working, brother.
In Out is coming, and we're not talking about, again, what
on
he used...
Facebook.
On Facebook.
On Facebook only.
What Tony used to
That's
do...
That's going to be the Tony Atlas Facebook, presented by Boston Wrestling.
On Underground Atlanta. Well, Boston Wrestling is willing to help with In Out.
That's right. And we're going to have virtual sales on Tony Atlas' Facebook page with Boston Wrestling.
It sounds like a great idea.
No.
Well, for those fans that have not heard the blessed...
Because they have to send the money to your PayPal. I don't have a PayPal.
Well, as usual, I come in handy for
you
something.
Help us old, Let me borrow that PayPal.
Let me do some more work.
It'll work.
So
You
I can
watch.
I can
so
deal.
Dan Marella and Tony Atlas going to be the hosts of In and Out Tony Atlas Facebook.
He hosts In and Out, and I get to go in and out with Uncle Sam over it. That'll be good. But anyway,
That's
wrestling
wonderful.
fans, if you have not heard the blessed news, Tony, I think we should share it with the fans because I think it's a great lead into the topic of conversation on the show today. But this May, down in Texas, you are going to be inducted into not the WWE, but the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. Tell us what's going on.
Well, the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, unfortunately, is the most unpublicized, greatest event in the world of wrestling. They only introduce wrestlers, but whereas with the WWE, it's a WWE Hall of Fame. The Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame is wrestlers from all over the world, both new and old. To be in it, you have to be in the business for a length of time. Mm-hmm. You would never see someone like John Cena in the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame or Shawn Michaels. They have not paid their dues to be considered a Hall of Famer. Most people that being inducted in the Hall of Fame, like if you read off the list there, is guys that been in the business 30 years or more. You know, these guys that have been around for a long time, you know, like McDowell Vachon and Ox Baker and guys that probably you never even heard of before, Gene Kiniski, Killer Kowalski. You know, these are true patriots of the business that had dedicated their whole life and career to pro wrestling and pro wrestling only. You're not going to get Liberace in this. You're not going to get Snoop Dogg in this. You're not going to get William Perry, the refrigerator, in this. With WWE Hall of Fame, you could wrestle one match and become a Hall of Famer in WWE, like William Perry did. William Perry, when he did his speech in 2006, if y'all watch it, he said, "I've never been known in one sport and get inducted in the Hall of Fame in another one." He said, "I'm not even in this sport, but I'm in the Wrestling Hall of Fame." You see, because he said, "Well, that's the Celebrity Hall of Fame. Where the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame is strictly for wrestling only. Just like a baseball player, if you a singer or a guitar player, you're never going to end up in the Football Hall of Fame.
Right.
You know, you're never going to end up in the Baseball Hall of Fame. You have to have played the game well and long to get inducted. So even though it don't get it don't have the highlights of the WWE or AEW, it's in the world of wrestling, it's the highest honor that any wrestler could get. The only people that wear that ring, and wait till you see that ring, brother. The only people that wear that ring are people that had dedicated their whole life to pro wrestling and nothing else. So it's quite an honor. I just hope that I live long enough for it to be done.
Well, you've got about 3 months, Tony. Let's hope you can knock on wood.
A lot can happen in 3 months. The saddest part of this introduction, this is when I got inducted in the WWE Hall of Fame, my wife Monica was there. When I got inducted in the World Bodybuilding Hall of Fame, my wife Monica was there. This is my highest honor that I received in my career, and my wife won't be there. That's the saddest part of the trip, that she won't be there to see it. So I got to figure out some type of way.
Well, I already have the solution, Tony. Like I said, I'm going to reach out to these folks about maybe us promoting the Hall of Fame on this show. Maybe we can go down and film your induction. And then on your new computer that you bought, once you can visit Monica, you can bring her and show her on the computer your induction
Let her see
speech.
it, yeah, because
that would be a great way for her to see
this
it.
is the first time that she's not there to, not there to see my, because I know by May she's not going to be able to travel all the way to Texas. She's not going to be.
She'd be lucky if she's home at that point.
Yeah, but this is a great honor. It's like, for example, you take Tommy Wildfire Rich, the youngest NWA world champion in history. probably never go to Vince's Hall of Fame. You have thousands and thousands of wrestlers that had dedicated their life to wrestling that probably would never be in the WWE Hall of Fame. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I know guys that he probably wasn't the best person in the world, but I never really had no real problem. You take like Vader.
Leon.
I used to travel with Leon after his career with the WWE and WCW was over. And that was one thing that every year he would look and he would tell me this. I wonder if they're going to put me in this year. And Ivan Koloff, Ivan came to me and said, you think you could talk to them for me? You know
Isn't that something?
it's
the guy
sad,
that ended.
But it breaks your heart. These are guys that had wrestled for more than 40 years. And then they see some guy that come out in one show, one pay-per-view, and in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Nothing against Snoop Dogg. I love Snoop. Love Snoop to death. But put him in the Hall of Fame of wrestling?
Yeah.
For what?
Exactly.
And not Alvin Koloff, not Vader, not Tommy Rich. These guys, and I told the guy that did this last year when he called me. I said, if I die, don't put me in. What freaking good they're gonna do me? Where's your fan? Screwed up. They don't even know I'm gonna be in it. They're not gonna be able to see me. They're not gonna be able to take pictures with me. You know, what good is it? They're gonna watch a freaking tape on me and listen to somebody talk about me and I ain't there. You know? There's so many guys in the wrestling business that have been looked over and they die. Most wrestlers, people say, oh, they die of drug overdose. No, they die of a broken heart. The business they put their whole life into. And then what did they get at the end? They sat home and they watched a football player or a singer or baseball player get in the Hall of Fame. After 40 to 50 years of struggle and hard work, and they don't put them in. I think you deserve more to be in the Wrestling Hall of Fame than 50% of who Vince put in there.
Oh.
You.
Me?
You have donated more to the business than the refrigerator? He did one day.
Thank you.
One day.
I've tried, I know that much.
He devoted one day of his time to wrestling and World Hall of Fame ring. One freaking day, brother. He even mentioned it himself. This is refrigerator talking, not me. Watch the tape. He couldn't believe it. He said, all the wrestlers, me, him talking about, he said, all the wrestlers. You take guys like Johnny Ross. How come he's not in there? Is he in there?
He's in the WWE Hall of Fame.
What about S.D. Jones?
They put him in the
achievement thing, but not the Hall
He's
of Fame.
in it, but he didn't. They have a new program where they put
What about Bruiser Brody, who gave his life for this business?
He's in it now too, but he didn't get an official induction. What they do is the weekend of the Hall of Fame, they make a video package of, say, 6 to 8 people that have passed away, and they get. It is in the Hall of Fame.
It's not the Hall of Fame. It's something else.
It's like a different kind of award that goes along with it. I can't think of the name of it.
Yeah.
Fans at home can probably look it up online. But he's technically in it. But I tell you this, from what I recall, when they did that with Brody, they didn't even let Mrs. Goodish know ahead of time. They just did it.
Yeah, because they don't want to pay her.
They put SD in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's not it wasn't an official induction.
There's no ring. There's no.
I don't know if they get a ring.
No, they
or
don't
not.
get nothing.
Mrs. Jones
check,
didn't get a ring.
Nothing.
They didn't even get the check.
No.
No payday.
Nothing.
Well, Tony, I am looking forward to this. I God only knows at this point if the induction will take place.
It will.
Before fans. If it does, if you are in Texas in May, I'm telling you right now, I am going to be in Texas in May.
The Rock and Roll Express going to be in there.
I am going to take Monica's place at this year because I want to be there to see my friend inducted into the Hall of Fame, Tony. We have known each other since
And
19...
this one is not easy to get into either.
The credentials are different. The credentials are different.
You have to really, because you put in by your peers. That's the difference. Wrestlers
Voted in.
Wrestlers
Voted
vote
in.
you in. You have to get voted in by other wrestlers.
And for the fans that may not be totally familiar with what we're talking about, this is the Hall of Fame that for quite a while was in Amsterdam, New York.
Right.
And it has been relocated to...
Corporal Christian, no, not Corporal Christian, the event going to be...
It's in Texas. I can't think of the name of the city.
Shoot. I just said it. Wichita Falls.
Wichita Falls, Kansas.
Wichita Falls, Texas.
I have no idea where Wichita Falls, Kansas is.
It's in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, Wichita Falls.
But I look forward to going. If the induction happens and they allow people in, I am going to go and watch my friend Tony Atlas be inducted, and hopefully we can work out some kind of a deal with the Hall of Fame where we can promote their work, and maybe they can let us, like what we do with the Cauliflower Rally Club.
And this is what is real sad for me, too, about this induction.
All right.
Rocket Johnson always wanted to be in there.
Really?
There was a lot of things that Rocket said to me that I didn't pay attention to while he was living, but then I look back on it. He called me one day and said, "Hey, Ric Flair going in the Hall of Fame again." I said, "He's already in there." Oh, they're putting the 4 Horsemen in. So they bring the Flair back, put him in for the Hall of Fame again. Got 2 Hall of Fame rings for Flair. They bring in other tag teams. There's a lot of guys that have been in there twice. I got inducted twice in that. And Rocket said, how come they don't put us in as a tag team? First black world tag team champion. But don't mean nothing.
Yeah.
To be the first black tag team champion. There was other tag teams that went in that never were the first, that never did what me
I
and
tell
Rocket.
you want to talk about a team that you think is
So that's-
suspect
that
about
what
being
pissed
in.
off a lot of
Look at
older-
Harlem Heat.
Huh?
They put Harlem Heat in together. What did Stevie Ray ever do to be considered a pro wrestling Hall of Famer?
See?
Booker T, okay, I could see Booker T as a single, but I don't think Booker T should be a 2-time Hall of Famer, one man's opinion.
See, but that's what they do. And that's what, and with all the wrestlers in this world that got overlooked. They got overlooked at the end. You know, they got kicked to the curb at the end. And I can name thousands of wrestlers. Did you ever put Wahoo McDaniels in there? WWE?
I think, again, he's in that
He's
same
in the
program.
Pro Wrestling
Yeah.
Hall of Fame, but not in Vince's.
I think he's in that new program they have that honors the dead.
Superstar Billy Graham, WWE?
Oh, yeah.
Superstar
I was
Billy
with Billy in 2004. for
Pedro
that one.
Morales?
Yeah.
Okay.
But again, if the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, if it's open to people to attend,
It's gonna
Tony,
be
I'm going to
great.
go with you.
Yep.
Maybe we can do some interviews
And
with
this
Tommy
Hall of
Rich.
Fame, what is different about this one than WWE? This is for wrestlers only. You can't show up for one pay-per-view and get a Hall of Fame ring.
Well, I can't wait to see who else is going to be inducted. I think it's going to be a great weekend down in Wichita Falls, Kansas.
Or you can read off the list. Let me get it for you.
The Cauliflower Rally Club, we don't know if that reunion is going to happen again in 2021. Last year, our reunion was first supposed to take place in April. Then it got postponed to my birthday week in September. I was excited about going to Las Vegas for that. That got canceled as well. Everyone is hoping that the CAC reunion is set for April of 2021, and it's not looking too good, at least as of the time of this taping. We're supposed to have news in January. If you are interested or a member of the Cauliflower Rally Club, check out cauliflowerrallyclub.org. The link is always rotating on the YouTube version of this program, so you can find out if we're even going to have a reunion this year, as Tony tries to use the Atlas iPhone 18 over there to try and figure out what's going on in Wichita Falls, which I am eager to attend and hopefully record and bring back some great footage for the fans. What?
Mountain, where you have to stroll with your finger right here to read it, okay?
What is it?
It's a 2020 Hall of Fame inductee.
It's 2021. Oh,
okay. Now,
all right, let me take a look at the list now.
Yeah, you know how to, you can read it out to the fans.
The Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame 2021 Hall of Fame inductees from the Pioneer era, Man Mountain Dean and Paul Bowser. Paul Bowser was the promoter for Boston. Did you know that? Okay. From the TV era, the Super Sock, Jose Lothario, the man that trained Shawn Michaels.
Right.
Along with Tiger Conway Sr.
Senior.
From the modern era, Tony Atlas and Tommy Rich. Women, Judy Martin, a woman.
Judy Martin, one of the best ever lived. In
A
wrestling.
woman that Tony would like to have walk on her along with Juanita Kaufman. International, Leo Burke. Executives, Don Owens, who ran the Portland, Oregon territory.
That's right. Don
For the
Owens.
tag teams, Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson, the Rock and Roll Express. From the territory era, legendary manager, Skandar Akbar. And for referees, Ronnie West.
Scandal
The
Akbar.
2021 Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame
Tell me where
inductees.
is at the bottom. The address is there.
No, it's not.
It's not on that one?
No.
Okay. No,
At least we had the
No,
list.
what I did, I looked it up on Google. I Googled
Oh,
it.
you Googled
I
it,
Googled
okay.
and they told me Wichita Falls on Google.
Well, I imagine we could go down. We could do some interviews with Tommy Rich, some interviews with the Rock and Roll Express. We could have some fun. Maybe we could have Judy Martin walk on you.
Well, no, I'll tell you what you could get.
What could we get?
Remember what I kept telling you? That every time we do this show, y'all talk about the nannies up.
The old stories. Well,
There's stories.
funny enough,
These guys got stories, brother.
stories galore.
Think about it.
All right.
Think about what they could, the story they could tell you how wrestling were in the 60s and 70s. You know,
Well,
people are
Percy,
very
behave yourself.
interested. That's why people are very interested in the history of something, and the history of wrestling have never been told.
Well, you know what? We're going to talk.
You can do a DVD on the history of pro wrestling with each one of these guys, the history of it. The guys that was there before the Hulk Hogan, before the Shawn Michaels, when wrestling was just in arenas and back rooms, and where guys had to really, really wrestle and fight their way to the top. Not when they had some millionaire up in the top that decide who's going to win and who's going to lose. These are guys that earn. He's doing this to you. These are guys that that work their way to the top. They traveled the highway 7 days a week. When wrestling was wrestling, when they did nothing but wrestle, 7 days a week they was wrestling, not wrestling on the weekend or wrestling. These guys, in the story, these guys can tell you the experience that they had. Like I talked to, I know he told me we got to hurry up. I talked to Fit Finley. He was telling me a story when he was wrestling one night. The people hated him so much, believed he was a real heel, that he was in the dressing room getting dressed, and bullets were flying through the window. Wow. That's how serious people took this sport, because these guys, and they live that. I know stories of guys, when they go out to the parking lot, you have to fight your way to the car, because they had no security. I know guys that got cut going to the ring, all types of stuff, because there was no security. So back in them days, when you look at these old arenas, they were just little old arena cigar smokes in the air and everything else. And these guys, when you're a heel, most of the time you have to fight your way back to the dressing room. Jonathan, the strongest man that ever been in pro wrestling. He's the only man I know could get on one side of the ring. When him and Bill White were wrestling, and they had a riot, and all the people was running, would jump in the ring to jump on Bill White, and Jonathan said, "Come here, kid, and stand beside me." Now a lot of people was ready. You ever talk to Bill White? He would tell this story. Now you know what a ring weighed.
Oh,
wrestling ring.
Oh, yeah.
He grabbed that wrestling ring and turned it over.
Wow.
That's how strong, and that's where I got my move from.
Wow.
But he was a big man, but they never concentrated on his strength. They concentrated on his athletic ability. He was like a 6'6", 300-pound guy that threw drop kicks.
Wow.
Guys like Crusher Blackwell and all these guys. These guys have gotten pretty much forgot about. Haystack Calhoun. Nobody talks about these guys. These were the guys that really pioneered the business, and they got forgotten about by Vince. They got forgotten about by the fans. I got a book that I got to bring you so you can see. And the book was made in 1952. And it cost $1.
What was the
And they
book?
show all the, like Argentino Rocco.
Wrestlers.
Real wrestler, like Argentino Rocco, he wrestled barefooted. You ever heard of him?
Oh yeah, he was a huge draw for WWF before Bruno.
Before Bruno.
Before even, I think it was actually, if I remember right, it wasn't even WWF. I think it was Capital Wrestling at that point.
It was Capital Wrestling.
Yeah,
at
at
that.
Madison
That's right,
Square Garden.
That's
Yeah.
right, that's right.
See, I know my
you
stuff.
the
I'm not
history,
dumb.
but how many of them know it?
Well, that I can't
we don't
speak
talk
of.
about it.
All right, wrestling fans, right now I want to take a brief time out. When we come back, you want to talk about history. We're really going to have some fun with this guy. I think he's going to love it. We'll have to wait and see.
Let's see.
We'll be back after this brief time out.
Don't have
Folks.
sex with baboons.
Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, I'm Dan Marty.
And I'm Mr. USA WWE Hall of Famer Tony Atlas.
The road to WrestleMania has begun. Wrestling fans are looking to add to their man caves. You got to see what we have in the eBay store.
Check it out.
Support Wrestling Insiders and keep wrestling legends working on eBay. Get this WWE NXT TakeOver War Games 2020 11x14 limited edition autograph poster signed by everyone on the event, number 23 of only 100 made. Includes signatures from the Undisputed Era, Johnny Gargano, Damian Priest, Tommaso Ciampa, Timothy Thatcher, Io Shirai, Tony Storm, Rhea Ripley, Dexter, Loomis, and more. Comes with authentication hologram on the back of the poster. Also comes with mystery autographed 8x10 and an on-air shout-out from WWE Hall of Famer, Mr. USA, Tony Atlas, on Wrestling Insiders at your house. Get it now. All right, wrestling fans, welcome back. So many great things happening here in the world of Boston wrestling. Again, we ask you, if you're having fun, if you're enjoying yourself, give us a thumbs up. It lets YouTube know that you're enjoying the shows, and it showcases our programs to more and more new fans that haven't experienced us yet. If you really like all the great content you're getting 7 days a week from us, hit the subscribe button. It's absolutely free. It alerts you to all the great things we have going on here in Boston wrestling. If you have some thoughts on the topics, if you're watching the premiere on Tuesday nights at 10 o'clock, chat away with us in the chat to my right, along with the comment section below if you watch a replay. The super chat button is always open if you want to tip the bartender for all of the hard work, entertainment, and fun we bring you, as Tony is having a Zen moment with the Kleenex, or either that or he looks like a member of Retribution.
No? What I'm doing, I'm trying to teach the wrestling fan how to do a cold.
How to
now,
do a
most
what?
people do, like you got a cold, a runny nose.
Oh.
See, if you could take some glue and you glue the tissue right here. Now a lot of people are going to steal this idea. You glue this.
No one
onto
is
your
going to
head,
steal this
or
idea.
the best way to do it.
No
is
one.
take a staple gun.
Yeah.
You staple the
New
tissue.
Jack, your buddy.
Right. You staple the tissue to your head. Now watch. Somebody going to steal this idea. And then when you get a runny nose, the tissue is right here, and you can just wipe it, just like that. And the tissue is always there. And if you're not able to wipe, let us say you're cooking and you're doing something, and your nose is running, you just right into the tissue. Easy.
Do you think that John Cena Sr., with the glue that he has to use on his tooth, do you think that a Kleenex has ever got stuck in his head
Well, it's good.
and he didn't know
see,
it?
he could lift the
Yeah.
toothpaste, put it on me, and see, and you have it hanging right over your nose, and it's right here. See, hand it. Look, now tell me that's not a great idea.
It'd be good for a LAN party, I know that.
That's a great idea,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. All right, wrestling fans, back to the topic at hand. Tony, what I want to know is in 1974, a young Anthony White was taking judo classes at the Patrick Henry YMCA, and in
How
walked
you found out about that?
a man named Sandy Scott.
Tell us what was going on in the world of Anthony White, and how did Sandy Scott change what was going on in
Where
the
you get
world
that
of
information
Anthony
from?
White? Don't worry about that. Let's talk wrestling, baby. The Patrick Henry YMCA. Anthony, how old is Anthony White when he's taking judo?
I can't remember that far, but I'm just shocked that you know that I done that. What happened was, when I was a kid, everybody wanted to get out the hood, and we were looking for ways to get out the hood. If you could sing, the guys used to be on the corner. They'd be on the corner singing at night. You know, no band, no, just harmonizing, they used to call it. You know, and a lot of them had good voices. Guys were trying to get on the basketball team so they could get a scholarship and go to college and go play pro basketball or pro football. Everybody was looking for a way up the ladder in the 70s, because the 70s was the beginning of desegregation. America was segregated up until 1968.
Yeah.
And in 68, they desegregated America. So the 70s was really the big boom for minorities to try to get into it. Well,
It was good to be black.
Right. Well, most minorities was not that well educated, because the school system was not the best system in the world in the 60s and the 50s for most people. So we went for, people were looking for other ways of trying to make it. Well, I didn't know where I'm going to end up. I didn't. So by the time I was 19, and I'm not bragging, you can look it all up yourself, you probably already got it. I was the Virginia bodybuilding champion. I was the Virginia weightlifting champion, the Virginia powerlifting champion, the Virginia arm wrestling champion.
Wow.
By the time I was 19.
Well, our director,
I had
Jackie the Joke Man, actually came in third in Massachusetts for powerlifting.
Yep.
Did you know that?
No, I did not know that. But anyway, I was involved in all these different sports. I didn't know if I was going to make it as a bodybuilder. I didn't know if I was going to make it as a weightlifter. I didn't know if I would make it as an arm wrestler. So I went to the YMCA and I saw the guys doing judo. So I wrestled in high school during season. When high school season was over, I had to find out a way to stay back in shape. So I started taking up judo at the YMCA. But one day, I was taking up judo, and Sandy Scott came. No, the first time Sandy Scott came, he saw me weightlift. I was getting ready for a weightlifting contest, and I was going to deadlift 600. If I do 600, that would have been the state record for that time. It was, all contests back in them days was AAU, Amateur Athletic Union. There was no MPC, none of this stuff. You see that it wasn't even existing. It was an AAU for handle everything dealing with amateur sport. They were the big dogs then. You don't even hear about the AAU no more.
No.
But that was the big dog with the YMCA and all this stuff. The AAU
Zeri was involved
yeah,
in the AAU.
And the big thing for the AAU was the Olympics. I think the AAU still runs the Olympics. That was the big thing.
Creme de la creme.
Right. Everybody was trying to make it to the Olympics. So so you have to win so many AAU titles to qualify for the U.S. Olympics. Well, anyway, make a long story short, that was the first time that he saw me. I was doing a 600-pound deadlift, and they said, Sandy Scott said, "You ever thought about being a wrestler?" I said, "No, not really." And then I walked away from him. Well, about a month later, he came back, and he had a wrestler with him by the name of Charlie Forter. And I was taking judo classes at the time. And they said, "Hey, let me see how good you are, kid." So they pulled Charlie Forter on a mat with me. So I beat Charlie Forter. And then one of the guys at the ride said, "Well, you know he's state wrestling champion, don't you?" And just Sandy Scott said, "I didn't know that." He said, "I thought it was just a weightlifter that was trying to learn how to do that." They said, "No, he's state champion in wrestling." And Charlie Forter said, "Now you freaking tell me." And then they brought me down to Charlotte. And normally, what they do when you beat one of the wrestlers in the older days, they would bring you to Charlotte and have some of the tough guys to hurt you. But George Scott liked him. He said, "Don't hurt him, train him."
So how did it go from Sandy Scott running into you with the Y, then coming back?
George Scott was his brother.
And he was the booker for Jimmy
He was
Crockett.
the booker for Jimmy Crockett for Midnight. He was the booker.
So they saw you take down Charlie Fulton at the Y, and they said, "Let's see if we can get this kid involved in our business.
No, they want to kick my ass.
They wanted to kick your ass.
Take me down like you just said and hurt you. That's how they used to do it in those days.
So when you went to
'Cause
Charlotte,
I was not one of them.
right?
So, but then when I went to Charlotte, George Scott took a liking to me.
Before the beating.
I never got it.
That's what I mean. So you must have made a good impression on George
George
Scott
Scott. He liked
before they physically harmed you.
Yeah.
Like the famed story when Hulk Hogan was training at first, he had his leg broken when he
Yeah.
was under the training of Hiro Matsuda.
Exactly.
So
and they had guys that could have done that to me at the time. Yeah.
the guys in the Mid-Atlantic Territory, at least George Scott,
He
felt
liked
there
him,
was
and he a
potential in
booker,
you.
And he was the booker. And he was the booker. So I remember that Ole Anderson told me, said, "Kid, the only reason we don't hurt you because George Scott told us not to,
And they probably wanted to.
because I beat up one of them."
Is it true, Tony, that after Sandy arranged for you to meet with George Scott and some of the wrestlers in Charlotte, you no-showed the first meeting?
Yeah, I had no way to get there. But he didn't know that. He didn't know. I was working as a I was working as a dishwasher at the Roanoke hot dog stand, and they stay there.
Really? The Roanoke hot dog stand is
I
still
go
there?
by there all the time when I go there. The old guy that gave me the job name was Gus. I used to do the pots and pans, which was the hardest job in the world. You ever try to clean up a pot, a greasy pot? You wash and you wash. The guy would come back, feel a little bit of grease, redo that. It is not easy to kill pots and pans. Trust me. I used to scrub, you scrub, and you scrub, and you scrub, and you scrub, rinse it. And it's hard to get grease off of a freaking pot, especially the pot they had back in them days, you know. And that was my job. I used to do the pots and pans for the Roanoke hot dog stand, and I used to get paid. I think I was making like $38 or $40 a week, like $40-some, because minimum wage back in them days was like $2 or something.
Oh, wow.
It was. Well, you're talking about the '70s,
Yeah.
brother. You know, minimum wage was on like, I think it was $1.60.
Wow.
$1.60. So, you know, you have to put in a lot of hours. And after wrestling practice, I used to go and work at the hot dog stand. And so that's what I did. So they asked me to come to Charlotte to meet George Scott, to meet his brother. Mm-hmm. Well, I said, well, I tried to get away. He said, don't try, be there. But he wasn't paying attention. He's thinking, like most people think, oh, he's a big kid, he got a car, he got transportation. I said, I don't have no car. I never drove a day in my life. He said, what do you do for a living? I said, I wash dishes. So then how they got me to Charlotte, they had me to come to the Starland Arena on the sucker meeting.
In Roanoke.
In Roanoke. And so my buddy Alfonso Johnson was a wrestling fan, and he took me to the Starland Arena. Now here's the funny part. I thought I was coming home. So I had my little gym bag. Then I didn't have a little school gym bag.
Yeah.
And with some sandwiches in it, and a change of underwears. That's all I had
That's all you brought.
when I left home. Sandwiches, some apples, some bananas. My mother made me a big jar of Kool-Aid. We couldn't afford sodas. In the hood, it was Kool-Aid, brother. You get one pack of Kool-Aid, you make a whole pitcher of Kool-Aid. My mother we couldn't afford them soda pops. We always drink that Kool-Aid. So I had a big mason jar of Kool-Aid. Because my mom thought I'm coming back the next day.
Yeah.
So when I get to Charlotte, Klondike Bill,
Well, let's not go out of order now. So let's talk about Roanoke first. Did you go to Roanoke before or after the Charlotte experience?
No, Roanoke was first. I didn't go to Charlotte. I couldn't make it there.
So they told you to go to Roanoke.
Yeah, Sandy met me at the YMCA.
Right.
Then George Scott wanted me to come to Greensboro, which was 100 miles away. So some guy overheard the conversation. So he said, I would take you to Greensboro. So I went to Greensboro to meet George Scott. And he introduced me to the board, and they had a trick question. It was a trick question. I didn't know it then, I know it now. They said, what do you think of pro wrestling? I said, I think they're great athletes, some of the toughest athletes in the world. All the guys look, the kid got respect. The kid got respect for us. He respects us. So George Scott walked back out the door, and I remember in Greensboro, North Carolina, He said, the boys like you. Talking about the other wrestler, they like you. So then that young kid, I can't remember who the hell he was, took me back to Ronald. He thought he was going to be my manager. So he told me, he said, if they call you back, tell them I'm your manager. Because he was a wrestling fan too.
He wanted in.
Yeah, he wanted in. So he saw he could get in through me. So then George Scott, I told him, I said, well, he's going to be my manager. George Scott said, well, don't tell him after he take you home, because if you tell him that, he probably won't take you home. He said, but you don't need a manager. We would take care of all that. And he said, I'd like you to come to Charlotte next week. So I said, well, I'm going to get there. He said, he said, Charlotte, he said, it's only a little bit. So he's thinking that, that I'm driving everything. So I didn't show up. So then when I come to the Y to work out, the guy that worked behind the counter, in the old YMCA, there was a guy that worked behind the counter, he'd give you a towel, had the basket where you put your stuff in it, in the basket. And then we give you a towel and give you a key to go into the Y. So it's Sandy Scott on the phone, but he's raging hell with me. You piece of crap, you. I put my neck on the line for you. Everybody was waiting to see you. I talked about you. I bragged about you. And you had the freaking nerve to stand me up. I said, but sir, I don't know how I'm going to get there. He said, well, how you get anywhere? You drive. I don't drive. You don't drive? How old are you? I said, I'm 19. That don't freaking mean nothing. I don't care if you 29. You don't drive? I said, no, sir, I never drove a car. I said, I can't afford a car. I said, I only make $40 a week. Well, how in the hell you live? I said, I stay with a welfare mom. True. Loretta Myers. She's in my book, Loretta Myers. This is in my book. I said, her and my mom. I said, I live with her because my mom can't afford to take care of me.
Was Loretta that older woman?
Yeah, she was 38. She was 38 years old when I met her, and I was 16 when I met her.
So when you were 16-year-old, you started to pound this older woman.
Yeah.
38.
I tore that ass up, man.
You did.
That was good too.
Really? Was Loretta in good shape?
Nah.
No.
But I didn't care about that.
He was 16.
I was getting me a little poontang. That's all I care about.
How many children did Loretta have?
5.
Were they around your age?
No.
So they were younger.
They were different ages and stuff like that. Loretta got pregnant when she was probably around 12 or 13 years old. Yeah. In the neighborhood.
Yeah.
In the neighborhood.
You were giving it to
I
Loretta.
seen an 11-year-old pregnant, 12 years old, 14 years old. In the neighborhood. Yeah, there were a lot of guys in their 40s will hump a 14-year-old all day long. There was no boundaries. There was no law.
What did you? Well, your mother was such a strict woman. What did she think about you pounding this 38-year-old woman with several children?
The age that mattered.
She didn't care.
It was one thing that bothered my mother.
What was that?
We wasn't married. Oh. That was the only thing.
She didn't mind the pounding.
We wasn't married. My mother was a Christian. And to her, according to the Bible, any man or any woman that engaged in sexual activity that is unmarried is a whore, and it's a sin.
So your mother thought Loretta was a whore?
It was a sin. She thought I was too. I said, any man. See, we always use that term just on women.
Men can be whores.
Any person that engaged in sex. There's a story in the Bible where they were going to stone this woman.
Yeah.
Because she was having sex and she was unmarried. So Jesus said, who is without sin cast the first stone. Nobody stoned her. He turned to the woman, the unmarried woman that was having sex, and he said, go and sin no more. Anyone that involved in sexual activity, according, not to me, according to the Bible, a true Christian know that. If you engage in sexual activity unmarried, you are committing a sin. That's sinful. To my mother, I was sinning. I was living in sin. It had nothing to do with age, because there are a lot of people, most men marry a woman 20 years younger than them anyway, most men. It was just weird for a younger man to have an older woman. You know, if a 40-year-old man married a 20-year-old woman, nobody said nothing. A 40-year-old, 20-year-old woman, nobody said nothing. A 20-year-old man with a 40-year-old woman, here come the talk. is that double standard. It's okay for us men to do it, but it's not okay for women to do it. That's why they call them women arena rats. I said the most diseased, nasty, despicable people ever walked the face of the earth were pro wrestlers. I mean, he's sticking in a woman 7 days a week. His penis been in 7 different women in 1 week. Sometimes 8 or 9.
It sounds like Howard in the other room.
That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. You don't do all the crabs and gonorrhea and claps that I knew guys had, and then they would take a woman to bed and got gonorrhea. You know how many diseases wrestlers that gave other women? Because they would go from one bed to the next bed. And this poor woman, she's thinking that he loves her. And as soon as he get through banging her, he's in another town banging another woman.
But I have to ask, Tony.
Most wrestlers in their career have been with over 500 different women. There's no woman on the planet, the no arena rat, as y'all call it, that been with 500 men.
How many women have you been with?
About 800 or 900, easily.
800 or 900,
Easily,
really?
Easily.
Really?
Easily.
Wow.
It was so easy.
But let me ask you this, Tony. We'll get to that point. At 16 years old, how did you wind up pounding this 38-year-old woman? How did you know her? But I mean, how did you know her?
She saw me walking down the street one day with my shirt off, and I was, in real good shape there. And she thought I was older.
She didn't realize you were 16.
Until after we did it. And I'll tell you something, you're gonna laugh.
Let's hear it.
When I was 15, the first time I met her, she tried to get me to go to bed with her. So she had, women didn't wear pants back in them days. Most women wore a dress. And in the summertime, they didn't wear no underclothes.
No panties.
No panties. In the country. I don't know how it was in the city, because you're a city boy. When the country, women didn't wear no panties, or Brazil, they did put on a dress.
No bra either.
No bra either, yeah.
Just the dress.
The only time they had panties and a bra when they went to church. Oh. Most time they wore sneakers or flat shoes and a dress. You look at all the old pictures, you see them in a dress, right? With flat shoes.
Yeah.
Okay? And then on Sunday, they put on their nice dress, they put on their bra, they put on their girdle if they're fat, they put on their panties, they put on their stockings, they put on their high heel, they put their hat on to go to church. But that was one day a week. The rest of the time, they just had that dress that ran around it. Well, anyway, she laid back on the couch. She said, I want to show you something.
Oh, wait a minute.
I said, oh, really?
Wait a minute.
So she got a plane with me, and it came up. She said,
what came up?
My penis.
Oh, all right.
What do you think I came up? My hair?
I'm not sure.
Yeah. And anyway, she laid back on that couch and threw them legs up in the air, and I saw that thing open up like a giant clam. I took off running.
You ran from it.
Oh, scared as shit. I've never seen nothing like it. So I ran, and I was running, and I was sitting in front of my house, and I'm shaking like a leaf. My brother Norris, my oldest brother, said, what happened? He said, you look like you saw a ghost. I said, worse than that. I said, somebody cut Lorella, and I had to get out there before they blamed me for it. He said, cut her where? I said, right between the legs. I got a great big cut right between the legs there. And I said, pus is coming out of it. I said, it's an old cut because pus is coming out.
Pus is coming out of it?
Pus is coming out of it.
What do you mean,
I
pus?
never saw one. I never saw one.
But what do you mean, pus?
You know what I'm talking about, Dad. Let me tell the story. The fans know. The fans
They
know.
know
They
the
know
pus.
what I'm talking about.
Loretta's
I'm
pus.
trying to tell the story, so I tell my brother, pus is coming out of it. The root is so old that pus is coming out of it. I said, it's infected. She need to go see the doctor. He said, Tony, that's a pussy. I said, is that what it looked like? He said, did you fuck her? I go, no. He said, well, you got to go back because word going to get around that you ran, and everybody going to think you gay. So you're going to have to go back. So I said, okay, I go back. So I went back to the house where she lived. And she said, are you going to run this time? I said, no, I'm ready for it. So I get on top of her like this, Dad, with my eyes closed. Then I go in there, oh. And then she couldn't get me off of her. I fell asleep on top of her.
You fell asleep on Loretta?
I didn't want to take it out.
Where were her children when this was happening?
She did that in front of the kids all the time.
She would take...
Her daughter, She had a daughter. She got pregnant at 12.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Loretta was a frisky thing.
Well, yeah.
I still don't understand the pus.
Come.
From what?
Somebody that fucked her before I did.
So before you went and pounded Loretta, someone else was in Loretta's
That
home
was the white
doing
stuff
the
coming
same
out. I mean,
thing.
who cum was that coming out of her?
Oh, my dear Lord.
Somebody dropped the load up in there. It wasn't me.
And did you have protection, Tony?
Nobody thought about that then.
No. There were no condoms back then.
Nobody thought about that stuff then.
Dear
The
Lord.
condoms did not really, people did not really started having safe sex until AIDS came along.
Magic Johnson time.
AIDS came. Once that AIDS hit, that slowed down everything. Because with everything you caught, they had a cure for it. You caught claps, they had a cure for it. You caught sniffing, gonorrhea, they had a cure for it. AIDS came along and there was no cure. There's still no cure for it. And AIDS killed. That backed everybody up. Nobody even thought about it. I used to watch Sonny Fargo, the one that the Fargo brothers used to do the Crazy Man act. Jackie Fargo.
Jackie Fargo.
Jackie, not Sonny.
From
Jackie
Memphis.
with the referee. Jackie. I hope this don't offend your audience. He would take a bloody Kotek out of a woman.
what?
Kotek.
A what?
Damn, you've never been around a woman a day in your life.
What the hell is a Kotek?
It's what they put up in their vagina when they're on the period. You
You mean a tampon?
Tampon. What we call it Kotek in the hood.
Well, I never heard Kotek.
Y'all call it tampon. We call it
Tampons,
Kotek.
yeah.
Why, I don't know. That's what they used to call it. Maybe that was the name of the product, the panda. But they would put it in their vagina when they're on their period. Sonny Fargo would pull it out with his teeth, wring it out in his beer and drink it. Not Sonny, but Jackie.
He would take a used tampon or a Kotek, as you call it, rinse the blood out of the Kotek into a beer and drink it. Now, what was it?
And the Moondog, I think he passed away. Rex, not Rex.
Randy Cully?
Randy Collins.
Yeah.
He would go down on a girl while she was on her period.
He enjoyed it.
While she was on her period.
I wonder what he enjoyed out of that.
Brother, I never asked.
You never did it.
She's on a period.
You would stay away from it during those 3 days.
Yeah. She's bleeding all over the place. Then this guy's licking on him. That's why I say these wrestlers had no reason to call these women rats. They were slam balls. I mean, with some of the stuff that I witnessed with my own eyes, I've seen this stuff with my own eyes. That's why I'm so open about my foot fetish. One guy told me, said, Tony, you about the most normal person of us all. He said, you just want to get walked on. Some of the things these other guys would do was freaking ridiculous. Michael Hayes, he liked golden shower. He liked to be urinated on.
By other men or women?
I don't think, well, what we did used to pee on it. I guess he
Who?
liked. They used to pee on each other. Him and his partner there.
Oh, the Gordy.
Yeah, Gordon.
Buddy
They would
Roberts.
pee on each other.
I thought that was more of a rib than a fetish.
No, they loved it.
They like being
Yeah, I
urinated
told him
on.
one night, I drove him, I said, God, if y'all pee on me, I said, I'm going to fight you. I said, I'm not into that. Well, you let women put their dirty shoes on you. I said, brother, if you pee on me, I'm going to fight you. I told them that one night. They wanted to pee on me. No,
I don't understand that
I
one
don't, brother. I don't. They used to buy beer and have the girl to drink, and every time the girl had to pee, they lay in the tub and had the girl to pee all over them. Man, I went in the room and they were laying in the tub, and a woman standing over and peeing all over them. And
On
they
which
loved every
one?
bit of it. Yeah, and then the other guy.
On which one?
And all of them did it. There were three.
All
of them.
three of them were laying in the bathtub,
No,
being
not in the-
urinated on.
I did. Now you got to use a little common sense. in
Well,
a
which one was
conversation.
being
I
urinated
said
on?
all of them. Not at once. You know it ain't at once.
The woman was holding her urine?
Yeah, one would go back to, what is that blinker like? Yeah.
Percy sent in a signal. He loved Terry
Gordy.
Gordy.
Explain things to you sometimes that like trying to explain to a 3-year-old.
Well, I'm just trying to break it down for the fans so they
They
understand.
what I'm saying when I say all of them did it. They all did it. I mean, how much more explain they did? They didn't do it all at once to turn on one person. That's
Well,
just common sense.
The way I had heard it over the years was that the Freebirds like to urinate on a guy's leg in the shower as a rib. I didn't know they enjoyed
It's
it.
a rib in the nannies.
I didn't realize that this was a thing that they
Brother.
get pleasure from.
Brother,
What?
why would you do that every night just for a rib if you didn't like it? That's just like me giving you a blowjob and say it's a rib. Come on now, Dad, why you so... Dad, sometimes you amazes me.
How do I amaze you, Tony?
Because sometimes you just act like you just don't know nothing.
Fans, I'm going to ask you at home. How familiar are you with the art of the
And I
golden
used to-
shower?
what was the other guy? What was the other guy named that
Who?
with the free bird? Not the big one,
Buddy Roberts.
but it.
What? He used to use his snots as hair gel.
And he called you, headlock me. I said, screw you,
Oh.
screw you.
So they were kind of gross.
Ronnie Garvin with crap in his hands and come up, hey kid, how you doing? Brother, they was filthy.
Rugged Ronnie Garvin with the blonde
Rugged
hair and the
Ronnie
crew
Garvin.
cut?
The first time I met him, he crapped in his hand and came and wanted to shake hands with me. They used to crap in guys' bags and in guys' shoes and stuff for a rib. Man, they was filthy.
What about, I know Klondike Bill comes up on the show a lot. He's a man that you have great reverence for because he got you a hotel when you were on the road and didn't realize you needed one. But a story that has become very popular online thanks to Tony Schiavone's podcast is Klondike apparently was a very horny man. Is that a way?
They all was.
Well, apparently, in a discussion about sex, Tony thought he'd be friendly and get a Playboy-type magazine for Bill to look at. When they arrived with the ring at a hotel in the parking lot, they found a pair of women's panties laying on the parking lot ground, and Klondike Bill got out of the truck, picked up these strangers'
'em on his
panties,
head.
put them in his mouth, and started to munch on these parking lot panties, and said, I wish these women in the magazine were attached to the panties. Is this something that
I've
was...
seen him do that before.
explain what you saw.
Well, see, when I first started in wrestling,
Yeah.
if you was not strange or weird, you was in the wrong business.
Yeah.
All these guys had these strange fetishes. They all did. That's why I felt right there with my shoe fetish. Because I was the most harmless of them all.
Would Loretta walk on you?
Yep.
Yeah.
But I was the most harmless of them all. Most of these guys, they was all into oral sex, a lot into oral sex. I used to see guys getting the head jobs in the shower, guys getting the head job, the Sheik,
Now you're talking about Eddie Farha or Vaziri?
cars.
Cosrow, all right.
The funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. Now you got to picture this. He's on the toilet, okay? The girl is giving him a head job. He would go, poof, let one out. Oh, keep going, baby. Oh, excellent, excellent, very good, very good. You could smell the doo-doo.
So the Iron Sheik received fellatio while he was moving his bowels
At the same time.
in some random hotel.
No, in the dressing room.
Oh, in a locker room.
Locker room.
No.
Sex went on in the locker room.
So was this
sex
Was
went
this with a
on-
rat?
Sex went on in the dressing room.
Well, I guess
every
what I'm trying to ask
night.
was it with a female rat or was it with a peer?
I'm not going to call that woman a rat. I don't like.
Well, was it
degrading women.
an
It was
arena
a
woman?
female.
It was a female.
It was a female.
All right,
Yeah,
all right.
yeah, it was a female. But what it
Well, I
is-
remember one time.
But that was, brother. That was every night.
In-
Every night.
In the 80s.
Somebody got, well, in the 70s, I remember Paul Jones and Wahoo was writing and said, if you can't get laid in this territory, you just can't get laid. In Georgia, me and Puster Perry Watley was alive. He could tell this story. I was driving one time and Pez came in to wrestle at the Atlanta City Auditorium.
Yeah.
Before we started going to the Omni. And I had a 77 Lincoln Town car. And Perry said, Tony, you know where's a good hotel at around here that I can stay for the night? I said, brother, I'm getting no hotel. You stay at my house. I got a property. Come and stay at my place. Save your money. Oh, thank you, Tony. So we get in the car, and I said, you feel like a little action night? And Perry said, yeah. So I rolled down my window. I go, you in the back. And they jumped in the back of my car.
3 women on the street? No, with these.
No, at the arena.
Oh, at the arena.
At the Starland, I mean the Atlanta City Auditorium.
Now, with these female wrestling fans?
Yeah, yeah. And I just go, you in the back, and they just jumped in my car. We took them to the hotel. We stayed at the Passport Inn at that time. We took them to the hotel. I did them, and then because I didn't want to take them to the house at that time because I had a girlfriend there. So we took them to this Passport Inn. Me and Pez, we did them. I took them back to the Starland Arena where they could get the cars and go home, just like that.
Every night.
It was just, yeah. Yeah, they was,
Well,
you
were a young man in your early 20s?
Not just young.
Thank you, Jackie. But we discussed women's panties and pocket
Well, I
knives.
could tell this story now.
All right.
One day, they had this one girl in the room, one girl. You have Steve Kern, Taggart Conway Jr., Birdhead Jones, Rufus R. Jones, myself, and Mr. Wrestling number 2.
Johnny Walker.
Doing this one girl.
At the arena.
And then 2 came in with his mask on.
He didn't want to be seen.
Didn't want to be seen. So the guys thought it was great that 2 is joining us. So everybody said, let 2 go first. Let 2 go first. So 2 went.
Why did 2 go first?
We never saw 2. We never seen them doing it.
Oh, it was new for 2.
No, it was new to us.
You had never seen 2.
Right. It was already the rule for the younger guy.
Yeah.
We never seen one of the old timers get down.
One of the
and
vets.
The boys, while you having sex with this girl, all the wrestlers standing there watching you.
And the female didn't mind that she was having, it was a 6-on-1.
I don't know if they meant it or not.
But they did it.
Yeah, because I remember, I'm not going to call his name, there was one guy that wanted me to do this girl because it was in Columbus, Ohio, and this girl used to come every time I'm there to walk on me. And I take her to dinner, but, and she didn't have to have sex with me. That's why she liked coming to the show. She didn't have to put herself out. And she got a crush on this wrestler. And me and him shared a room that night, and he just got through having sex with her, and he asked her to have sex with me. She said, I can't do that. And the guy said, why not? He said, because he's black. My family would turn against me if I go to bed with a black man. This is the 70s. But he said, get out of my room. She go to put her clothes on. He threw her out the door naked and threw her clothes at her and slammed the door.
Was it Vaziri?
I'm not going to call no name because the guy, he's still living and But
well, after the story you just told about him in the bathroom.
But you can understand the story. I could tell stories about how wrestlers treat women like crap. Every day of the week. They bring these women
Let me ask you this.
And I've seen them do things to women. There was one wrestler, his son became a wrestler. He almost killed a woman one time. It was in right around Raleigh, North Carolina. It was a little town we used to go through in Raleigh. Patero know this story. Ken Patero know this story.
Patera Rastani or Ken
Patera? He was not involved, but he know the story. I remember me and Patero.
I'm trying to clarify. Patera Rastani or Ken Patera?
Ken Patera.
Ken Patera,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Because me and him was talking about it in the gym the next day. I wasn't there, but Patero knew what happened. They had this girl, and they give what in the old days they call it a Mickey.
Yep.
They put her in a drink and knock her out. Mm-hmm. All the boys took their turn on her.
They raped her.
Pretty much. Then after they took their turn on her, if you ever talk to Patero, he know this story. He know who I'm talking about too. It was in the early 70s. They put feces and urine all over her. In the older days, they had these rugs, these big round rugs in the room. They roll her up in the rug. They put a do not disturb sign on the door, and they turned the heat up. And they left her. Come to find out, the girl father was the chief of police.
Uh-oh.
That wrestler was not able to come back. The girl almost died. They had no respect at all for women. That's why when I hear the
Now,
term
what territory was this?
Huh?
What territory? Mid-Atlantic?
Mid-Atlantic. Because we were going to do Raleigh TV. We used to go through this town all the time to do Raleigh TV. Most of the guys were still in Raleigh, but this town was between Raleigh and Charlotte, North Carolina. And the girl got a hotel room there because she wanted to be with this wrestler. But what she didn't know that once she went to bed with him, because if you had a girl in your room and you didn't share her with the other wrestlers, they would call you a fence builder.
Really?
A fence builder.
Fence builder.
Yeah. So a lot of times the girl would do things because she got a crush on you, so she would do what you want, trying to please you. She would go with me to please you. These were young, very infatuated women. You see how the women act with every person.
Who was the one that was in charge of wrapping the girl in the rug and spreading the feces on?
I ain't calling his name.
You're not going to call the name out?
Because his son is a good friend of mine.
Oh, all right. All right. Well,
his son is a good friend of mine.
that's an unbelievable story.
And
the woman almost died. Why did she almost die? From the Mickey or from the feces?
No, because she couldn't breathe. She went into a coma.
Because she was wrapped in a rug? Why did they wrap her in a rug?
Oxygen. The oxygen, it was a lack of oxygen. And only to save her life, the smell was so bad. When the maid went in at 11 o'clock to check the room. And she saw the girl, and the maid took and called the ambulance and got her to the hospital. And they told the maid if that girl had laid there for another hour, she would have died.
Wow. So it really was a serious thing.
Very, very. And I've seen a lot of guys that
Were you there for that, or was that secondhand?
No, Patero told me the story. Patero was there. Kim Patero was there.
How many guys used the woman after the Mickey?
Patero can tell you a lot more than I can.
All right.
Kim Patero. But I saw a lot of women get misused, and then the guys, to make themselves look good, they call them rats. And half of the girls that went to bed with them were stoned out of the head, young, impressionable teenagers. We talk about 15 and 16-year-olds that they label rats. We ain't talking about women
15 and 16, huh?
Ain't no 25-year-old going to let you do that to them. Ain't no 30-year-old going to let you do that to them. So how do you think them girls was they were doing that to? See, we forget that part. Back in them days, women were not protected like they are now.
Yes, they should be.
But back then, most of these was teenage women, teenagers that they were doing this to. Them the ones that went to bed with the wrestler were the teenagers. It was not the grown women. And y'all call these teenage girls that is now grown, got kids of their own, and every time we call one of them a rat, she think about how she was abused by the wrestlers.
Violated.
Violated by wrestlers. And then we got the nerve on top of it to turn right around and call them arena rats. These was infatuated girls. And you know, you got to realize about a wrestler back in them days. They had maybe, 4 TV stations, and we was on one of them.
One of them, yeah.
So to these women, it was like meeting Donald Trump or meeting Elvis Presley or meeting The Rock. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they was like, you know, I can't believe that this guy is showing this to me. You know, any superstar right now can go up to a 17-year-old, and the 17-year-old gonna go nuts. You go up to a 27-year-old or 37-year-old, she's gonna say, screw you, buddy. You could never do that to a 30-year-old woman. In fact, if a woman was 30, they didn't want her. They always got the very young.
They wanted the rats to be young. Really?
The girls to be young.
So they would, if a 30-year-old woman approached, that was too old. Really?
Yeah, because they smart. They're not going.
They weren't going to allow that.
They're not going to allow you to do that to them. So you have to get the young impressionist ones to do that. Most of the older women, we met them, we ended up marrying them. Because they were not going to do that.
Let me tell you, this show.
I mean, I tried that, you know, with my baby mama. She slapped the shit out of me.
You tried what?
To have her to go to bed with one of the wrestlers.
You wanted one of the other wrestlers to
I
do
wasn't
your...
sure because God was calling me a fence builder.
Even though it was your baby's mother?
Just before we got married. The guy,
oh, it was before
they
you
saw
got married,
her,
okay.
And some of the guys wanted to take her to bed. They said, Tony, when that girl come back over, she look good. She nice looking. When she come back over, call me. I'll come over and help you with that.
Who wanted her?
A couple of the guys. And so I told her, I said, look, some of my guys, you know, me and you,
Some of my coworkers want to fuck you.
And I said, we're gonna have an orgy. I said, you ever thought about going to bed with two guys at once? She go, pow.
Where did she slap you?
On the fingernail down.
Right across the kisser?
Yeah, down. No, on the fingernail down.
Right across the kisser?
Right as hard as she fucking could. Got up and put her clothes on, and she said, if you ever asked me to do something like that, but with the difference between her, she was 21.
The woman you were with. So
That's
she was
right.
at least of legal age.
What, no?
No.
She was old enough to know better.
I got you.
Now,
Well-
if I told that to a 16 or 17-year-old,
Yeah.
that's why they was able to get away with what they did. They was with them 16 and 17-year-olds.
Sounds like a lot of Howard and Jackie's
But they
college
could get
stories.
away-
I don't
no,
know.
It wasn't just Jackie. They could get away with it in the 60s and 70s. There
Why?
Was no
Why
law.
could- there was
You
no
didn't-
laws
well,
against
no,
that?
No, there was what called a legal age. In most states, 15 is legal. Back in the 70s,
All right,
we talk about the 70s. What? How many years back I'm going?
You're talking almost 50.
That's what I'm saying. So if she was 15 in most states, like I think in Tennessee, 14 was legal.
That's right. Jerry
Because-
Lawler was in heaven.
Elvis Presley was too.
Yeah.
We forget that number.
Yeah.
I mean, his wife was 14.
Wrestling fans, this episode certainly was not what I had planned on.
It's not the women. Us men always want to downrate women.
Yeah.
The real dogs is not the women, they're the men's. More so, but the wrestlers, to make themselves look good, they call the women's names after they made love to them, make them do this, make them do that. And what poor, underprivileged woman working for $1.60 an hour meet a wrestler that make $100,000 a year?
We're running low on time, Tony, just so
driving
you know.
a brand new car. And this poor girl is catching the bus to see this wrestler, and she's 16, 17 years old, and here you got this 40, 50-year-old man manipulating her into sex. And then when he get through with her, guess what he called her?
A rat.
Thank you. That's why I don't like that term.
All right, wrestling fans, if the crew in the back can hear me, we've got to
Half
wrap.
of them should be in jail
Half
for
of them
child
should be, yeah.
molestation.
All right, well,
Bunch of freaking pedophiles is what they
we'll
were.
save that for the next episode, I guess.
Damn pedophiles.
This was going to be kind of an introduction into Tony Atlas's wrestling career in Mid-Atlantic, and it turned into some of the wildest sex stories. We heard
That was
about
part of it. So
we
you
heard
did
about
hear it.
orgies. We heard about women wrapped in rugs with feces and urine spread on them. We heard about men picking up random panties found in parking lots and munching on them as if it was a piece of chewing gum.
Yeah.
I don't know how to follow up on this one, fans. We're running out of
you know
time.
what? I finished up by saying
All right,
this,
one more.
and this came from a wrestler.
All right, let's hear it.
This wrestler told me one day, if the fans really knew how disgusted some of the people were that they pay their money to see, they would never pay to see another wrestling match.
And that may be some of the truest words ever spoken.
I mean, they were this freaking disgusted, degenerate human beings. A lot of them. Not all of them. Not all of them. Like, I got a couple of friends that never cheated on their wife, never did none of that stuff, you know. It was just good, clean, living guys. You know, like Tito Santana. I don't mind saying that. Tito would drive. We did a show one time up in Portland, Maine.
Yeah.
The next day, we're going to be in Boston. That's 80 miles away.
Yeah.
Tito would drive from Portland, Maine, all the way back to New Jersey, and then back up to Boston.
Well, I was told by one of the guys in the studio that Tito he was addicted to pounding her.
To what?
Pounding her. He couldn't resist.
I didn't know that. I've tried with Tito a lot. I've never seen him. I've never seen him do anything. He
Not
wife.
with a ring rat or anything. He was just. I don't know if it was before he was married, but he was literally addicted to this woman, and he would anytime he could literally get there back and forth, he would spend the extra hours to have
With this one woman.
the pounding time. Yeah.
The one woman.
Yeah.
It's probably the one he married.
It is. No, it was the one he married. Yeah,
he
he was
fell
addicted.
in love.
He
He
was
fell in love.
addicted to it.
He fell in love.
Well,
not
good for
addicted.
Tito.
He fell in love. Like when I've been married to Monica for 30 years. I never cheated on her.
You're a good man.
No, I was in love.
You were in love.
I fell in love.
All right, wrestling fans, if you are in love with this tremendous program, please give us a thumbs up. I can't imagine there are too many other shows in the universe that would discuss some of the things we discussed tonight as we continue to break down Tony's early days and his early 20s in the world of professional wrestling and some of his co-workers, some of the deviants, some of the lawbreakers that he associated himself with in these various orgies and sexual encounters. If you enjoyed tonight's show,
It's in my book.
we ask you please give us a thumbs up
Yeah.
and subscribe to the channel. If you've been chatting away in the premiere, the super chat is open. Please don't forget to tip the bartender. If you have any random thoughts about tonight's show and you're not watching the premiere, leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget we are back with brand new episodes of Wrestling Insiders every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. with Tony Atlas. Every Wednesday night it's Wrestling Insiders Special Edition with Rotating Legends. Thursday nights it's Wrestling Insiders Party with Marty, with Tony Atlas's longtime close personal friend Marty Jannetty. And then we round out the week Friday night at 10 after SmackDown with John Cena Sr.'s Thunderdome with that super duper super glue talking about the king of sports professional wrestling. If you want early ad-free access to all of the great stuff we do here on these shows, if you don't like the ads, the commercials, if you want it full screen, if you want access to our DVD library that's been seen on The Howard Stern Show and on YouTube by millions upon millions, if you want to help keep Wrestling Legends working, all for less than a cup of coffee down the street at overpriced Starbucks, hit us up at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. For my partner in crime, Mr. USA, Tony Atlas, I'm Dan Marati. If the studio doesn't close us down after this episode, we will see you
You kept pushing for
next
detail.
Tuesday night at 10 p.m. Stay out of the rugs. Until we speak again, folks, you and yours stay healthy. Be well. Good night.
The World Wrestling Federation was live at the Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis, Tennessee, Thursday, March the 9th, 1989. In the opening contest, Paul Roma beat Barry Horowitz. Rick Martel battled King Haku to a time-limit draw. Brutus the Barber Beefcake defeated Million Dollar Man Ted DiBiase. Hercules with the win over Dino Bravo via disqualification. The Brainbusters beat the Rockers. Bret Hitman Hart battled the Honky Tonk Man to a double countout. Coco Beware victorious over the Gladiator. And in the main event, Hulk Hogan defeated the Big Boss Man. If you were in Memphis live, share your memories in the comment section below. Use the links in the description box to keep Wrestling Legends working in our eBay store and on our acclaimed Patreon streaming service so we can bring you more interactive superstar shoot interviews to relive the good old days of professional wrestling. Check it out. Boston wrestling sports in the MWF explodes into a new year with professional wrestling content galore and need you to join our family. Every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. after our Monday Night Raw review, it's Wrestling Insiders at your house with WWE Hall of Famer Mr. USA Tony Atlas. Wednesday nights at 10 p.m. after NXT and AEW, join Rotating Legends on Wrestling Insiders Special Edition. Every Thursday night at 10 p.m. after our NXT and Dynamite review, it's Marty Jannetty's No Holds Barred Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll journey on Wrestling Insiders Party with Marty. Friday night after SmackDown, don't miss John Cena Sr.'s Wrestling Insiders Fabulous Fridays. Plus, look for classic clips, history videos, bonus live episodes, pay-per-view watch-alongs, and more. For less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks, get early ad-free access to our Wrestling Insider talk shows, our acclaimed studio shoot interview DVD library, and help keep Wrestling Legends working during the worst of times. Join our growing family at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. Expect the unexpected in 2021. Folks, that one delivered and then some. Now back to the world of professional wrestling, cough, cough, as opposed to that insanity from Tony. It's time for our Wednesday night Wrestling Insider Special Edition. Each week we have a different guest at 10 p.m. after NXT and AEW Dynamite. This week we're joined by a superstar whose interviews have been very well received. I'm talking about Nasty Boys Jerry Saggs. Saggs returns this week as he shoots on WWF in 1991, the AWA, Memphis, a young Undertaker, Jimmy Snuka, Kurt Henning's ribs, and much more. Kick back, relax, and get nasty.
Wrestling fans, welcome back to another special Wrestling Insiders. We're here again with Jerry Saggs. Again, was almost similar to Marty Jannetty. We try and start on topic to try and go in chronological order, and Jerry takes us on these great adventures throughout the country, throughout the world, in places we don't even expect when the episode begins. Some people say, doesn't that drive you crazy? I think it's great because I think it makes for more original, organic feeling productions.
Well, I can't be compared to the new Johnny Carson of your TV shows, Marty Jannetty, but I'm trying to get close.
Well, I tell you, Marty...
I'm glad to see Marty's doing so good and he's getting over with these things.
Marty,
you know what I mean?
He said he had a lot of fun living with you guys in Memphis.
Oh, my God.
But did you have a lot of fun living with him?
That apartment in Memphis was, if you can take Animal House times 3, that's what our apartment in Memphis would be.
He said it was one bedroom. He said half the time you guys would sleep the bedroom, and they'd sleep on the couch and the floor, and then you'd flip-flop every couple weeks.
We had two little beds in one little room, a shower, and then a little thing. It was like a little furnished place. Me and Knobs ran it cheap. But in that development, like I said before, upstairs was Rocky Johnson, his wife, and Dewey, who you know is The Rock now. And across the street was Moondog.
Oh, really?
One of the Moondogs. And down the street was they were called the Kelly Twins. I don't know if you remember those guys. They're old school guys, but they were both bald from Canada. And they went as the Clones in Tennessee. They came in for a run, 7-15 and 7-16. They rolled a medallion around her. They were identical twins. Nevertheless, one of them, they were in that accident with Adrian.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they were in that accident with Adrian in Halifax,
the July 4th
Nova
curse?
Scotia. Yeah, and one of them died.
Wow.
So I had never seen them since Tennessee in '87.
Wow.
But I heard they were in that accident, and we became pretty good with Adrian. He influenced us a lot. I didn't know until we were brought up by a promoter. God, it has to be, I don't know, 15 years ago or more, to Nova Scotia, Halifax, a tour, a run through there. And he flew in Hulk Hogan for it. And I didn't know how close of friends, though Hulk pulled us aside. We said, where were you at? We got to one of the big shows. He only came in for 2, but we were in a loop. Cactus, Mick Foley was on it. Billy Gunn, X-Pac, a bunch of us guys were all up there. And Hulk came in for 2 of the big shows. He goes, well, he told me in Knobs that he said, I had the guy drive me to the exact spot where the van went off the road.
Wow.
And I go, he goes, and he was upset, clearly upset about it. And I didn't know the influence and friendship they made in the AWA. Him and Adrian Adonis were tight, very close. He helped Hulk in his early days. So he made it a thing while he was in Nova Scotia to go see that.
Wow.
But not to get off your thing about our apartment in
No,
Tennessee.
not
but
at all.
That's how a story, just like when we were talking about Pat Patterson or Percy or anybody, there's so much that is around it and branches off of different things.
Adrian is kind of a forgotten soul in wrestling. And I think that's kind of sad because during that big mid-'80s boom, the first live event I went to as a little 5-year-old kid, it was Hogan and George Steele against Adrian and Macho Man down the street at the Garden. And look at WrestleMania 3, Roddy Piper's retirement match, quote-unquote, for the first time in front of 93,000 people. It was Piper and Adonis. And, I'm not sure. I don't know why he left the company in '87 after Beefcake cut his hair, but it seems like...
That's when he came, when I met him.
Yeah.
We and Bob Orton at different times, of course. Jimmy Snuka was already there, like I said previously, and we became very tight with Jimmy Snuka. He stayed at our place in Brad's basement. He drove in the ring truck with us as a joke one time.
Really?
Kurt left him behind to purposely, Jimmy had to sit in the middle of me and Niles while
Oh, my
driving,
God.
we're driving the ring truck. Jimmy slept with us, stayed at our place at Brad's. We were sent to pick up Bob Orton at the airport when he came into the territory, leaving WWF at the time. We were sent to pick up Adrian and pick him up. Adrian had an influence on our wrestling style. Roddy Piper told us stuff because those two sort of, I could tell they liked what we were doing, how we acted. It was a little play of each of them was in it. You know what I mean? Adrian, the one that told us, you know, at that first TV when he watched us wrestle, "You're not nasty. What are you doing?" And he told, you know, we never stabbed the people in the eye with a pen. Or we did spit, though. I forgot about that. I started spitting a lot in people's faces. I spit walking in the ring. It drove Gorilla Monsoon nuts. You know, the position there is named after him.
The gorilla position, yeah.
I'd come back and he goes, "Quit that spitting." You know what I mean? Because back in the day, the early days of the WWF, I mean, you couldn't touch a table, a chair. You weren't even allowed to get out, exit the ring unless you to throw somebody back in. None of this crazy stuff was going on. So me spitting would drive Gorilla nuts, but I kept doing it as part of the thing. Somebody would yell at me, go spit right in their face, or I spit right in the camera. You know what I mean? Drive Gorilla crazy. That came from Adrian, as did one of the last things he said after gouge their eyes out, stab them with a pen, spit in their face. It takes their head and ram it into your partner's armpit. That's how we got.
That was a great spot.
Pity City.
Yeah.
You know, take somebody's face and put it in the opposite slimy armpit or mine. People go, ah, you know, we started doing it. That's how that happened. Same with Roddy. Interviews. How you go to the ring. No middle ground. Love you or hate you. You know what I mean? You get that, you know, you listen, you got to be a sponge early on in the business. But that's a long way, or not too long, to that apartment in Tennessee, which was Animal House 2.
Animal House 2. Like I said, if those walls could talk.
My God, I can't say the stuff that Jimmy Suzuki, you know, Steve, we drove back with Steve Kern. Jimmy Suzuki's a Japanese reporter, was going to do a big story. Me, Sean, Marty, Jimmy Suzuki, Steve Kern were all in a thing.
I think I know this one, but let me hear your version of it.
Steve Kern's father, Steve's one of our closest friends. He brought us to Florida out of Minneapolis. But Steve Kern's father, this is while we were in Tennessee when we first met Steve, but he was coming back to the infamous apartment. We were going to party. We rode together. Jimmy Suzuki, Steve started stirring the shit on the ride back. Goes, you know, today's December 7th. Or that there's something, you know, the start of when the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Jimmy Suzuki, the Japanese reporter. You know, and Steve goes on to tell the story. Well, my father, believe it or not, Steve Kern's dad was in the Air Force when he was 19.
Oh, really?
He was shot down over Germany and held at a German prison. As a 19-year-old, he paratrooped out and he was held prisoner. When Vietnam came around, he was a colonel.
Wow.
And he was in a jet bombing Hanoi. And he was shot down. And he had a nice long stay at the Hanoi Hilton, the infamous prison, for 7 years. Wow. He was gone from when Steve Kern was 13 to when Steve was 20. He came home, was released after the war ended.
Oh, my God.
He came home from Vietnam. So Steve started that whole thing up. So by the time Steve had us so riled up, by the time, you know, we got back, Jimmy Suzuki was the Japanese reporter, was going to get killed. But anyway, some things were thrown in Jimmy's drink, and he's unconscious in our hallway at the infamous place. Jimmy Suzuki wakes up with a mohawk and no eyebrows, and I think a Hitler mustache painted in Sharpie on his face. And he's screaming. Long story short, me and Knob never got the article written about us.
Was there not a time with Kurt,
Marty was there
with Kurt involved where it might be the same gentleman? He wound up naked in the parking lot, and Kurt called the police, saying there was a crazy guy out in the parking lot.
Kurt, and whoever would come through town, where Scott Hall, Kurt, they'd always be with us and end up at our apartment. And then during that time, there was 4 of us in the apartment already, but it didn't matter. The more, the merrier.
Right.
And it was there was stuff going through the windows. There was, you know, a lot I can't say. But anyway, Randy Hale was a slow guy. He was a Jerry Jarrett and Jerry Lawler promoted the territory. And one of Jerry, he did television and he drove home with us. I think it was Kurt, Jeff Jarrett, Randy Hale, and me and Knobs. Kurt takes this guy, we gets them all drunk, we get back, we're pulling up. He takes our car and he drives our car down an embankment at the hotel and plows into the bushes. The car's upside down. Randy Hale's head smashed off the thing. He starts cursing at Kurt. Kurt takes him and puts the guy in an airplane spin, and he's spinning him so fast, the guy's going around and around and around and around. And he falls, and he goes, he's so dizzy. He's laying out there, and now he's like hit his head, and he's crawling around and outside the thing. The security Kurt called the complex.
Oh, is that what it was? Okay.
Yeah, something like that. There's some crazy man. Next time we see him, no, I'm with these guys. Are like, we don't know him, you know. You know what I mean? And that weekend, it was the same weekend after Kurt left town. Kurt was coming as AWA champion and wrestling against Jerry Lawler. And we were doing our street fight thing in the Mid-South Coliseum. But sold out down there. Mid-South Coliseum, the old place. That's a place Elvis used to sneak out and go watch wrestling matches down there from the top. Classic old building in Memphis. And we had Memphis TV every Saturday morning while we were in Tennessee. Jeff Jarrett was only 17. Jeff would pick us up and we'd go on the road with him. And his dad, they took good care of us there. And we got all these antics going on, and whoever was there, and that Randy Hale was one of them, and Kurt was in town that time. So Kurt leaves, and it's like, Knob's like, you know what? You're a pig. I go, what do you mean? He goes, wash your clothes and stuff. It stinks in here. This has been a while. I go, what do you mean? I have no dirty stuff. Knob's like, F you. And then Sean and Marty, you guys, what are you doing? Is there somebody playing, and after a week or two, we find freaking Kurt took a tissue box and shit in it, a big cow pie, and hid it under the corner under our beds. And after a while, we go, something stinks. This is smelling like hell. And then Kurt's back in Minneapolis going, and then we finally find it. We all call him. We find the thing, and it's all, oh my God, it was gross. A big shit pile in there. We find it. We called, and then that was the shit deodorizer joke that Kurt played on his way out. So one of the times, Sean's in the shower, and a joke we do on each other, I go and grab, let the water run till it's cold outside, so the water gets, just tap water, but in Tennessee, decently cold, freezing as I could get it. And wait, Sean's all steaming up in there. I sneak in the bathroom and whoosh, I hear screaming like that and run out, and I go, Knobs, you're an asshole. Why would you do that to Sean? And then so I think Sean don't know it's me. It goes back and forth. A couple days go by, I'm in the shower, and all of a sudden I get something thrown on me, but it ain't ice water. Somebody went and put a cup of water on the stove, and right at the boiling point, when it just was starting to start the bubble, that it got that hot, the big bucket on our stove came in the shower. My whole back was burnt like I had sunburn. I went, I was screaming. That's all. And I go, and they're him and Sean, they go, who's, and they're blaming on each other. You motherfuckers. So I know somebody stooged me off. It was Sean boiled me like a lobster in the shower. That's the shit that went on almost every day in our thing. And the antics with you just can't say it. There's a lot of the stuff that happens. Craziness. Crazy. Good, but greatest times of our life. We're all single, have a worry in the world. We were wrestling every night, didn't care about anything. And we're surrounded by our good friends.
Life was good.
That was the best times of our life right there, And we were learning or what we wanted to do for our life at that time. You know what I mean? Good times.
And it worked out great for everybody involved, from the names that you mentioned.
I'm sure Marty, with his Johnny Carson shtick here, brings that up every once in a while.
Oh, he does. No, he was, even before you guys flew in this week, he texted me to make sure to mention the times at the nasty apartment in Memphis.
Pretty much lived with us a lot when we were all in Minneapolis. Sean had his own apartment. Marty had a place. And we stayed living in Brad's basement. And there was like a little apartment, a bedroom, a bathroom and that down there. And we had two rooms there. And Sean would always be with us. Marty go on his wire thing, but Sean would all be me, Knobs, and Sean in one we had one big bed which you had a flip for, and then one of us get the blown out bed. It was an old piece of crap. That was me and Knobs' room. We lived in there in camp. We lived in there in wrestling AWA, and then Sean was in there with us a lot of the times. Then Jimmy Schnook would be on the couch.
Oh, jeez.
And then Kurt would bring us back home and crank the radio up and cause all kind of trouble down there to wake Brad up upstairs, and then Brad would come down mad, and you don't want to piss Brad Reagans off because he'd kill you. He'd rip you apart in 2 seconds, one of the greatest amateur wrestlers ever in the face of the earth. And then Kurt would do it on purpose. So the antics that we had in Minneapolis, we'd bring Jimmy home with us. Greg Gagne. Jimmy, you guys are picking Jimmy up, make sure he's at TV at 9 a.m. Okay, we couldn't say no. We were young, just breaking into business. This is before we came back from Tennessee. We just started wrestling on our own and driving the ring truck. We'd always drive Jimmy around. Jimmy'd stay with us. Jimmy, we got to go for breaking Jimmy up. We got to go for television. What, brother? We got to go to TV. Greg's going to be mad. He goes, you don't worry about Greg, brother. Chill out. For now, we're going to have a little breakfast, coffee, and we're going to smoke a little bit of this Pakaloa. He brings up a bag of weed. Pakaloa from Hawaii, because it wasn't like it was now. That was the best good weed. The Hawaiian, I got some. I go, oh no, we can't. We got to go to. Brother, sit down. Jimmy started smoking joints with Jimmy. Jimmy's got us so fucked up. Now it's 11:30, and now we knobs are so stoned, and Jimmy's just in his normal element. He flicks his hair back.
Jimmy's just Jimmy.
He thinks his thing, splashes water. He smacks his chest like the Sheik, and now we go to TV. Jimmy walks in, goes by Greg Gagne. Lovely brother. Greg's steaming. He can't say a word to Jimmy, or Jimmy will choke him. Who does Greg Gagne come after? Me and Knobs. You too. I told you to have him here on time. We're like, oh, we're like two scorned puppy dogs. You know what I mean? Greg's yelling at us. But what can we do? We're just young in the business. So now we sit down. We take the hell off because Jimmy's got us so fucking stoned. I don't know if I'm coming or going. Now Jimmy comes up for his interview. We were there just to watch interviews to learn. Kurt, Sergeant Slaughter, Buddy Rose, Rob, everybody, Sherry Martel, Ray Stevens, everybody. And everybody's going in and out, taking their turn. We're in the studio. Me and Knobs hide under a curtain. And we're fucked up as can be from Jimmy. And he knew that. So, and we never really understood what Jimmy was talking about a lot of times. He'd corner us and tell us these crazy stuff until he had us stoned out of our mind. And now Jimmy comes up, Larry Nelson's, well, Mr. Snuka, who we'd like to bring out right now, and he goes, let me tell you something, brother. When the moon is, and Jimmy goes on with this crazy stuff, and somehow now, me and Knobs understand what the fuck he's saying. He's got us stoned out of our minds. We're in the back of the thing going, you tell him, Jimmy, tell him, Jimmy. We're all into it. He's got us intrigued, you know, because before we're like, what the fuck's Jimmy talking about? It's crazy stuff. Now we're in a different state of mind. We understood Jimmy. That was the same thing. So everywhere we lived, wherever it was, in Minneapolis, in Brad's basement, in our apartment in Tennessee, in our places in Florida, were even crazier sometimes. Then we moved from place to place till we settled down. It was like that. That was our lifestyle, pretty much.
Unbelievable. Let me ask you this. A couple of previous interviews, you mentioned that you came into WWF around the same time as The Undertaker did. Undertaker went on for a little bit lengthier of a run than you guys had in WWF. What was your initial impression of the actual Undertaker character, this dead man come to life? You'd think under most circumstances, with maybe other people portraying the gimmick, you might get a couple of years out of it. Was it the character that made the man or the man that made the character?
I think it was both. Sid and Mark were tagged up. I think it was Mean Mark and Sid Vicious.
There's the
and they're
skyscrapers.
both huge dudes. Sid was the more of the physique. Sid was massive. Mark was just a big dude. They were good. Mark could always work. You know what I mean? And we briefly only just passed because it was like months of a passing there where he was on his way up and we were coming in for the Steiner thing and then we were right behind him. You know what I mean? It was only months in a time there that we almost came in the same time. But when I first saw the Undertaker gimmick, I mean, I could tell, just like, the gimmicks were changing a little bit. We were, you had the LOD, of course, where then they stepped up their deal, Joe and Mike, with the shoulder pads for that WWF, WWE mainstream television with the big pads and all that kind of thing, and for more marketability and all that kind of stuff. But I didn't realize. They said, well, it's just another gimmick, but Taker was doing it to the T with the whole hand thing, and he had the gloves on, he'd wear the thing, and he could just walk real slow and methodically, which was his style. You know what I mean? But here's a guy that's 6'7" or something like that, and he's walking the top rope to do that move. I'm like, he was he was a natural athlete. What I told you before is I didn't realize it until how we were getting over and he was. So I go, oh my God, we're pulling into Wembley on one of our first tours when like Sky TV took off. The first time Undertaker was in England and us as Nasty Boys under WWF, and that's our first time we went to Europe as in wrestling, because a lot of guys went for Otto Wanz or did the England territories. Vader was a big Germany guy. Otto Wanz met him at Bergania, took him over a bunch of times. We never did that. We did a lot of Japan in tag team tournaments in the 80s and then back all through the 90s. But I realized it when how over Taker was going to get over and how it was going to just take off was, I said, well, look, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 people. There's thousands of people out there. We're noticing some people dressed, some kids like Nasty Boys with a shirt or something on, and I looked and go, holy shit! They had the hats, the gloves, the capes, all different kind of things. But I'm talking hundreds of them. There's thousands of people around. We're pulling in. They're dressed the Undertaker or us or something like that. I go, I knew. I said, it's blowing up. You know what I mean? And the gimmick just kept escalating, you know what I mean, as it went, grew. And then, like you said, you asked about Jimmy Hart with us, the heat that he provided, and now you take, Paul Bearer and put the white ghostly thing, almost like the Addams Family type deal on him, and he's his type with the urn. It was like it's like a match made in heaven there. You know what I mean?
Let me ask you this one, personal opinion. When Undertaker first debuted at SummerSlam 1990, he was actually managed by a good friend of the show, Bruce Pritchard, Brother Love. Do you think Undertaker would have had the longevity or have been as over if he remained with Brother Love and they never brought Percy in as Paul Bearer?
Well, you can never tell. I know Brother Love with that gimmick, the Reverend thing could have, now that you think about it, the Reverend thing could have tied in, the heat with the red face and being the evangelistic preacher, the heat he was getting with that, because of Undertaker being a dead guy, supposedly.
Right.
But I don't know. You never know. But I think things happen for a reason. My honest opinion was it could have been close, but I think that the real deal was to have a real Undertaker, which is Paul Bearer's job, which we did on the part-time, wherever in Alabama, wherever he lived or whatever, and, get out of that Percy Pringle, but he was a skilled manager, but to make him a pallbearer, I mean, I think it was the way to go.
How odd do you think it was for people down in Alabama at different times when he had to leave WWF at different points in his career? to have him show up at the home to collect the body. I mean, you must do a double take. Wait a minute. That's
Yeah.
Paul Bearer from WWE coming to collect Aunt Amy's body. I mean, that's...
I'd want him to carry my urn around a little bit. I don't, fuck it. Well, you know, who gives a shit? You know
well,
what I mean?
he kept up that degree in mortuary science until the day he passed, so it meant a lot to him.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he did the gimmick so well.
Yeah.
And like I said, you can't say how it would have went because it didn't go. And you look at a lot of stuff like Hollywood, when you see these shows, like some of the greatest movies, you go, well, that part was supposed to be given to so-and-so. Like, you know, say Marlon Brando in The Godfather, well, so-and-so, but then you think about it again, go, it was meant to be that guy got that part. Because that movie would have not been the same if that other guy would have acted as that guy.
I don't think
you know what I'm saying?
I don't think Undertaker would have had the longevity. With Bruce as his manager. I don't think he would have had a 30-year run. Maybe is the way to put it.
Well, Taker was. He's a quiet dude, a good dude, a
good human being,
party his ass off, a straight-up guy, and a good businessman because he was low keel. He did good business. He was smart, and got that. And probably when it goes down in the record books, probably one of the end up one of the wealthiest, longest running stars in wrestling history.
Yeah.
You know, financially and run wise, and as over gimmicks for the longest time.
And he just signed a nice 15-year extension with WWE, so I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon.
I hope it's not getting just thrown out like because that thing you were talking about. You know, I don't like to see him be portrayed as that. To me, it's cheap in a little ways. When he is used, he should be respected and used correctly.
The icon that he is.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
What about one of the great legends, man, I think you were around maybe a little bit in AWA, that was back in WWF at that point, as kind of another fresh face to try and sprucing things up. Sergeant Slaughter was back as a heel, and a lot of people feel that crossed the line a little bit with the real-world tension going on in 1990 into 1991. Slaughter was given the championship belt at Royal Rumble 91 as the United States was preparing to go to war. There was some heat.
Well, it worked before, and that was with the Iranian crisis, that which gave the Sheik his heat. You know what I mean? Because he was the real deal.
Right.
He was from Iran, and they're holding the hostages. He's one of the most hated guys. Sheik didn't have to do too much but show up. You know what I mean? And that goes back to the wrestling at its best. That you take a real situation. I mean, there are lines like with race and with situations where you have to be careful. But that old school thinking back in the day, I was there for it all. That war broke out where the WrestleMania 7 was supposed to be held at the Coliseum.
Right.
And at the same time, those riots right after that went down, the Rodney King thing, the racial tension was there then. It'd be almost like if you would take Slick today, the heat they got with him, and have a black guy like that, with everything, the racial tension that's being spurred out there and all the stuff going on, and to get heat, he's eating chicken and
fried chicken,
shit talking and everything. That would be really cross. You couldn't fly today, this day and time. But back in the day, a war, here's an opportunity. Sarge did multiple things, and he's made a lot of money through his career. And I've seen him from the camouflage limo when I was a kid, pulling up at the George Washington Motor Lodge, where I told you we used to chase George Steele at, to, he was with G.I. Joe. Had to deal with them and all that to turn on his country. And then they brought in Sheik Adnan Al-Kaisi, which was the Sheik in AWA, to go with him as villains. They went with it and got away with it. Like I'm saying, that kind of stuff today, like with the Gulf War, if you made took a guy that's from, I know they had some kid that was like Islamic or something like that, but if you push the religion stuff or the racial stuff too far with the PG and stuff ratings that they can't do so much on because of the wide casting of the television now, you're restricted. And I don't think you'd be able to do it. Just like when you can't be bludgeoning guys' heads in anymore
Right.
with chairs and and bleeding all over the place, and that's all gone now. So you got to watch your step with all that kind of stuff because it's fragile out there.
I
know what I
remember.
mean?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'm done.
One of the, I can't remember quite who, but someone here in the studio said WWF had to provide around-the-clock security to his home when Slaughter was on the road just to protect his wife and kids because there was that much heat on the
There
man.
was serious, yeah, and that's before they went to the entertainment,
Right.
where we said we're just entertainment, and then people, they knew it was professional wrestling, but the real fans took it to heart and soul. It pissed them off because Sarge was representing being a U.S. Marine and all that kind of stuff, and I know it got heat. That's what it was objected to do, was get that kind of heat to make money.
To be the Iraqi sympathizers, saying that he was going to bring the WWF Championship belt to Saddam Hussein, and that was kind of, you were really bringing some realism into what he was doing. Great heat, but
now they're doing the shows for the troops and that type of thing. If you think you do something like that over there, or then you go over to those countries, you could start a war. Before the entertainment thing came into it. You know what I mean?
leading into WrestleMania 7, you guys won something I don't think they've done since. You won a big 7-tag team battle royal on Superstars of Wrestling to earn that championship opportunity. I think it made the match feel that much more important once you finally got to Los Angeles. You went over there really were, other than the champions, 7 really top name teams at that point. When did you realize that you guys were headed into Mania for one of the top matches?
We didn't know it until that time.
At that TV taping?
We were hoping, but like you said, the new blood, new thing, and who would be the best for that job at that time? I mean, I know we got some slack. That other guys thought they were more deserving, and they were there a little longer. But we had to put up with some stuff, on that end. And
resentment?
Yeah, there was some. Here we are, 2 young, cocky guys coming from WCW and going into that thing. But it was, like you said, it was a time of rebuilding, and they needed change because it was getting stale.
They needed fresh faces in a hurry because business tanked in '90 for that company.
And I like Undertaker and that type of gimmick, and later on Sid would come in, and Rick came up and popped in there for a while, like with us, and us. I'm not saying anything about the other tag teams that were there at the time, but to do what we did with Jim and Brett, and then get as much heat that could be put on those belts, and then draw that money and that chase with the LOD with Joe and Mike. I'm not saying like toot my horn or nothing, but at that time, I don't see of anybody else being, even look at Sean and Marty were there. I mean, but would that have made sense for them to go and then wrestle the yellow? You know what I mean? Would have been? There's no way in hell. You know what I mean?
Well,
but when we were really planning on hoping a good run with Sean and Marty too. After the LOD thing was over, that's when Sean split
up off of each other.
You had heels. The Rougeaus had already split up.
They
Jacques
were gone
was
at that point. Yep.
You had Pat and Paul. They came in. They were
Orient Express.
Yeah, Orient Express there, but they were bad company in Tennessee and AWA. That's where I said Diamond Dallas Page managed them there a little bit in the AWA after we left to go to Florida. At the time, and then later, when the tugboat thing was done, Quake's top run was sort of coming over.
Coming to an end.
They which was a good idea, 2 huge son of a bitches, and they put them together. But as Quake could work as a singles guy in a lap, but a tag team, a big team against a big team, you got to have somebody flying around, and you got to have that heat. I thought that, like I said, everything happens for a reason, and at that point in time, we were the guys for the job. You know what I mean? And we did it to our best of our ability.
Well, even if you just look at the teams in that battle royal, I mean, Hot Foundation, they just got done with Power and Glory.
Yeah.
Demolition was being pretty much, Axe was already gone, and they were pretty much jobbing out Billy and Barry. Barry and Brian Crush.
Well, Barry and Bill had a very long run. As tag champions.
One of the great tag teams in company history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And good for them, and it's well deserved. Bill was in the business a long time. Barry was with what's the old Russian?
Ivan Koloff.
Ivan and that whole gang down. He was in there a long time. Minnesota guy. Barry's great, just two great guys. Good hearts, the whole 9 yards. But it would have been like clashing gimmicks, sort of.
Yeah.
I don't know if the people, and Bill and Barry had a more old school work style than if you really look at their work style, that old school. Them and the LOD, I don't know if they. I don't know. What's your thinking about that?
I would have liked to have seen it with just Axe and Smash against Hawk and Animal, but by the time the LOD made it to WWF, Crush was already involved because Bill had the shellfish or something like that.
Well, by the time we got there, Crush, who was a good friend of ours too, God bless him, he was on his own when the Orange, which is Crush. He wasn't in.
Well, no, they were still Demolition, just as
when we were there?
Yeah, because they wrestled. One of their last matches was WrestleMania 7 when they worked two guys from Japan. I can't think of it.
I didn't even realize that.
But that was about it. But at Survivor Series 90, about a month before you came in, Bill saw the writing on the wall, and it was bye-bye Demolition Axe, and that was for the best because, within 6 months, that team was just jobbed out, and Barry became Repo Man about a year later, and then, like you said, Crush came back in the Orange and developed a Hawaiian accent that he didn't have.
Jesus.
But I think as far as the teams available for WrestleMania 7, unless you wanted to go the quote-unquote dream match route and do LOD against Hard Foundation or Rockers against Hard Foundation, you were the team.
But that gives, if you go right with LOD and the Hard Foundation, with Jim and Brett were baby faces at the time.
Right.
They were loved. And the LOD would, no matter what they did, the people weren't going to hate them.
Right.
The more they beat people up, the more they loved them.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it would have been
awkward.
It would have been very awkward. I think that, for the time we were there, we filled that void
very well.
And we did the best that me and Knobs could do to our ability to get as much heat as we could, to take those from one and get them to the other, to give them the most overness as they had. You know what I mean? Did we take that gimmick a little too far? Well, maybe. I mean, who gives a shit about that now?
Right.
We're the Nasty Boys. Fuck it. What are you going to do? Life is life.
Now, with WrestleMania 7, you mentioned a little while ago, originally it was booked to surpass WrestleMania 3 as the biggest of all time. They booked a 100,000-seat Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum. There's been people that have said they changed it to the sports arena because ticket sales weren't even enough to fill the sports arena. There's people that have said there was security concern. There are people that have said it's been both. What do you remember as the reason for the move?
I remember it being the whole, they wanted it to go in they wanted to go in the Coliseum. You know what I mean? And it would have flown, but the war broke out. Not only security, there was threats in the United States and all that kind of stuff. And they just said, and then with the war going on, that they're coming off of that, end of 80s, 90s transition.
Yep.
And the ball getting handed to the Warrior, it was sticky there. You know what I mean? Really, we were as integral, us, Taker, and anybody else that came in at that time was into trying to revive the the company at that time than anybody.
91
You know what I mean?
really did develop into a good year, but it just as you weren't there for the majority of it. But 1990, just as someone that watched it as a kid to enjoy it,
Yeah.
it was a piss poor year for a
Yeah.
lot of it.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know if they would have been able to sell 100,000 tickets. It's not the phenomenon that it is now. When you look at it, you go to these WrestleMania week festivities that go on, a quarter, a third of the crowd comes from out of the country. You know,
Yeah.
it's a global phenomenon as opposed to just a big event that came to a city. WrestleMania 3 was such a great success because Detroit was such a drivable city from so many big areas like Toronto and Cleveland and those
Yeah.
places. Fans from everywhere could come in, and you had the draw of Hogan and Andre.
To me, the Andre and Hulk stuff and that early 80s, the guys that were participating in that are the guys that'll be looked at in rock and roll, like Elvis and Johnny Cash and Willie Nelson and all the early guys that started all that stuff at that point in time were the first guys to do it. And that realm of those guys, Hulk and Macho and Jake and Greg and Morocco and all, I'm not even mentioning someone, but then, you know, the manager, everybody involved.
They'll be icons forever.
They'll be icons because they made it what it is now and what it will be. And I knew there's no way. It's hard to follow up and make a WrestleMania better. Was there great matches though?
Sure.
And after that, my friends that followed. Now I didn't know John Cena. He came up through the one of the developmental territories and one of, I don't know, I think
OVW.
Oh, in Louisville.
Yep.
I didn't know him, but he filled the shoes. He did a really good job, which ain't easy to do. But I knew Dewey since he was 13, and we're good best friends with his dad. I knew Stone Cold. We were good friends with him and Brian Pillman. We worked with them, and they were the Hollywood Blondes in WCW with us. I never expected the shape. That's genius to me, because Vince was smart enough to know that was inside him, that bald redneck guy. You know what I mean? And he was huge draw. And then coming off our deal, which we did to mainstream TV at that time. Greg Gagne was there, Bill Dundee was there from Tennessee, and Mike Graham were all agents at the time. We've all worked for their own companies. They saw what we did and the money we drew in Memphis and with this fighting type scenario we did. Because we did with Bad Company, Pat Tanaka and Paul Diamond, we developed into these street fights in Mid-South Coliseum that went crazy, you know, that they never seen before. And it really did really good business. I was amazed with it. They introduced that at the same time for WCW when we came back, and we were set to go back in to WWE with Cactus and Stone Cold, and John B. Bad at the time.
Oh wow!
Me and Knobs took the money instead and stayed. We were getting spoiled at that time, and really. I wish, looking back, that we would have went back with them at that, because we were ready to go again. We had our time there, and we should have went, but we were getting...
And that tag team division in WWF was dead at the time. They really could have used it.
We should have went and made that move, and that's one of the things we talk about a lot. But we did those first ever seen on TV. There was no hardcore division, nothing like that, but we built it up into a thing where... we started up with Max Payne and Cactus.
Cactus and Max Payne, and then Cactus and
Kevin. We built
it
up to a head, which was a Chicago street fight.
Those were great.
A story about that. Knobs will probably tell you about it too, but you don't know the trouble we got in for that.
No, why?
They booked it as a Chicago street fight. So we bought different boots, and we taped up. We wore different pants, like a street. And so we went to ring with pool cues and pipes. You know, we were going to make this a street fight. And Cactus was in, and that was his gimmick. Sort of, he was building into that style gimmick anyway. Mick Foley, Cactus. We call him Cactus because he was Cactus Jack when he was with us. We still call him Cactus. not Dude Love or Mick Foley, Cactus, when he's with Nasty Boy. But anyway, after that match, I mean, we tore the house down, and it was shit to people, a great, but after that match, we got in the locker room, and we did everything. I mean, it was crazy. And then I was actually, and he told me, I was laying those pool cues in on Cactus. I hit him with a shovel so hard, I think I knocked his teeth. I don't know. We did that to each other. We said, we're going to do this. We're going to street fight. We got back to the locker room at the Rosemont. I think, it was a Rosemont. Yeah. I think it was the Rosemont, Chicago. I'm almost certain it was, because by then WWE had gone to the United Center. We took over the Rosemont with WCW. Remember that ramp going down? I know it was Chicago. And, man, Ric Flair gave us a chewing out. What the fuck was that shit? What do you really didn't know what we were going to do. He really, is that back in, like I'm saying, that in the early days of WWE, Gorilla, whoever, spitting, didn't even want. You couldn't touch a chair, a table. Here we are throwing people off a 5-foot ramp and tables, chairs, crazy pipe. But I said it was a street fight. We just sat there, me and Knobs, didn't know what to say. And I thought we were in trouble with the company. That was what it was booked as. We go back home, and I'm upset about it, thinking we're in trouble or whatever. We go back up to fly back up for center stage into Atlanta. And this is a thing we talk about with Rick a lot today. This is class, on his class act on Rick's part. He called a meeting at center stage. I'm talking all the heavy hitters were there at this time. Everybody's sitting there. Lex, Sting, Macho, Hall, everybody's there. And he goes, I want to apologize in front of everybody to the Nasty Boys and to Cactus and Max Payne. And I just want to tell you why, because Rick took a Learjet home. God bless him. We had his first match, Reed, Rick's son, when he was little. He ran up to him and goes screaming, Dad, that was the greatest match I've ever seen. And then he goes, thank you, buddy. And he picked up, hugging. Goes, Reed goes, no, not your match. That street fight with the Nasty Boys. So Rick told that story, and then once the things came into the pay-per-view stuff, and they realized how this shit got over, it was like he apologized, because it was like everybody at Turner's like, that was the greatest thing. And so that took balls to do that, but he was thinking the old school way, where the old timers, that would have been not right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Then we went on with Kevin Sullivan, took the book after Rick, and then Sullivan, we went into a deal with Sully and Cactus, and we went into the Broad Street Bully match, which we did, and we shot an angle. That was the end of our thing, and we dropped the belts to Cactus, and that was one of the best matches we ever had.
I really enjoyed those two series of matches.
That was.
I think it was Spring Stampede and Slamboree '94, if I remember right.
We brought David Schultz in of the real Broad Street Bullies to ref it.
Yeah.
And I said backstage, I go, listen, if I just listen to one thing, you're going to take your hockey stick to the ring, leave it on the outside, because in my head I'm going to use that. And I had thought up with that finish. It took me a week, in my mind, how to do this right and put everything together. Old school teaching from Mike Graham, the Eddie Graham type, Kevin Sullivan, Dusty Rhodes finish. The finish starts in the first 2 minutes of the match, goes 15 minutes. Psychologically, we were taught that back then. And I said, if I spit in your face or go to you, remember what you used to do in the hockey rink? He goes, I said, yeah, you pull my shirt over my head and lay it in. He goes, are you serious? I go, you fucking lay it in. Like you were beating the shit out of one of the Penguins back in the day. He goes, well, if you do that, I'm going to do that. I said, all right. And I did it, because I went after he did the thing, and I shoved him. I'm ready to spit, and then before he got the spit out, the spit in Schultz's face. And you talk about in Philly, at the old downtown Civic Center.
Civic Center, yeah.
Packed to the hilt, no room, sold out. When I did that, he punched me in the face and pulled my shirt over. I was like this, my shirt, and he was, the place came unglued. The rafters were shaking. That was when the Broad Street Bullies beat me up. Then I stagger after that in the Cactus, who's got the hockey stick, and boom, over it, and I'm out on the head. You know what I mean? That was classic. We were up for match of the year, and I
that
think
was great stuff.
Know who beat us out for match of the year? Our two friends, best friends at the time, Scott Hall and Shawn Michaels.
The ladder match.
Yeah, we came in second. They were first. I think we were first.
I like them both. I know that. I really enjoyed both of them.
That's just me saying. I can't say they were, because they did their own thing, and that was an old school deal, that ladder match. And two guys who knew each other so well, we broke all in together.
Yeah.
With Scott and Shawn. Mm-hmm. That was when Scott was Razor and Shawn came in, broke from Marty and went on his own. That match was match of the year, and we were right second in that.
Unbelievable. Wrestling fans, again, I'm sorry, did I cut you off?
No.
The story.
If you cut me off, I'll let you know. I'll stab you.
You're going to pull my thing over my head.
No, Adrian said to stab you our eyeball out with a pin.
Wrestling fans, the memories, the legends, the stories, and experiences, they continue. That's what our Wrestling Insider series is all about. We'd love to hear your feedback on this and all the great episodes and all the great guests. We'd love to have more of Jerry. We'd love to have more of Brian in studio. Again, the Super Chat is open if you're with us during the live premiere. Comment away. If you're not watching the episode during its live premiere, please leave your thoughts in the comment section below. The Patreon is always open. It helps keep the Wrestling Legends working, and you get early ad-free access to all of our shows at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. For our new friend, Mr. Jerry Sags, I'm Dan Marati. Until we speak again, folks, you and yours be well and stay healthy. Good night.
And nasty.
World Wrestling Federation was live at the Wikomico Youth and Civic Center in Salisbury, Maryland, Monday, March the 10th, 1986. In the opening contest, Sivi Afi beat Rene Goulet. Pedro Morales with the win over Barry O. Adrian Adonis defeated George the Animal Steel. The Killer Bees victorious over the Hart Foundation. King Kong Bundy beat Hillbilly Jim. And in the main event, Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff and Tito Santana with the win over Rowdy Roddy Piper and Cowboy Bob Orton. If you were in Salisbury Live, share your memories in the comment section below. Use the links in the description box to keep Wrestling Legends working in our eBay store and on our acclaimed Patreon streaming service so we can bring you more interactive superstar shoot interviews to relive the good old days of professional wrestling. Check it out. Boston Wrestling Sports in the MWF explodes into a new year with professional wrestling content galore and need you to join our family. Every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. after our Monday Night Raw review, it's Wrestling Insiders at your house with WWE Hall of Famer Mr. USA Tony Atlas. Wednesday nights at 10 p.m. after NXT and AEW, join rotating legends on Wrestling Insiders Special Edition. Every Thursday night at 10 p.m. after our NXT and Dynamite review, it's Marty Jannetty's no-holds-barred sex, drugs, and rock and roll journey on Wrestling Insiders Party with Marty. Friday night after SmackDown, don't miss John Cena Sr.'s Wrestling Insiders Fabulous Fridays. Plus, look for classic clips, history videos, bonus live episodes, pay-per-view watch-alongs, and more. For less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks, get early ad-free access to our Wrestling Insider talk shows, our acclaimed studio shoot interview DVD library, and help keep Wrestling Legends working during the worst of times. Join our growing family at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. Expect the unexpected in 2021. Fans, welcome back to Wrestling Insiders Week in Review, where we get together late night to enjoy all of our original Wrestling Insider and studio shoot interview talk shows from the past week. We've had some unique insight and stories from Tony Atlas and Jerry Sags thus far tonight, but we're only halfway through. Again, folks, as we hit the halfway point, we ask you to hit that thumbs up button if you enjoy what we're doing and subscribe to the channel. It's absolutely free. Click the little notification bell and you'll never miss an episode. It's very important to let YouTube know you enjoy what we're doing, so they showcase our shows to new fans. Share the link to this video, all of our videos across social media, wrestling Facebook groups, Reddit, websites. There are millions of fans that have not found us yet, that don't know we exist, but I believe once they do, They're going to love us, and we're going to grow this channel leaps and bounds so we can have original talk shows every night of the week. Again, the eBay store is rocking with wrestling merchandise. The link is in the description box below, and you can join the Boston Wrestling family. Join the family by heading on over to patreon.com/Boston Wrestling, where you get early ad-free access to all of our Wrestling Insider talk shows, our Studio Shoot interview DVD library, Patreon exclusives, and help keep these wrestling legends working. Again, patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. Now, it's time for Wrestling Insider's Party with Marty. Each and every Thursday night, Marty Jannetty joins us. This week, he shoots on WrestleMania 5, the event. Shawn Michaels' meltdown the night before the event, putting together their match with the Twin Towers. Donald Trump hosting WrestleMania 5. Rick Rude's issues with the Ultimate Warrior, and tons more. Enjoy.
But you want to know something?
We're going to.
I'm still going to surprise you, even though we're taping this in
Surprise
November.
me every day.
Well, hopefully in better ways than recently, but that's a different story for a different time. The story of the day is, though, baby, the road to WrestleMania has begun for WWE as they try and figure out where WrestleMania 37 is going to take place. If fans are going to be allowed in, that's a different story.
I was just going to ask you that.
What's that?
Do I need to wear? Is Kobe still around now?
It's at your discretion.
What month is this?
This is February the 25th.
It's probably gone because Biden's
All right.
in. They're going to make him look good.
All right. Yeah, well, it's.
So I can probably take this off.
All right. Hopefully he's not too sleepy. Hopefully he's wide awake and doing a great job
Sleepy Joe?
leading and guiding our country.
Kamala, I'm sorry, is probably in charge by now.
You think Kamala's wearing the pants in the family?
She always was.
All right.
You know, she dated
You'd have to ask
Montel. What was
Montel.
that?
Yeah, Montel Williams.
She looked good back then. I mean, she looks good now for
I think
for a Democrat.
Well, I really don't judge them that way, but she's no Amy Klobuchar from Minnesota, that's for sure.
I heard she was a hoe.
Amy Klobuchar
That's
was
what
a
I
hoe?
heard. I mean, I don't know. I ain't never been there.
I
lived in Minneapolis, but she wasn't around that time.
It's not one I'd have much interest in.
You know what? As much as everybody hates to look at Nancy Pelosi, the next time you see her, I wonder if she's still Speaker of the House at this date.
Well, we'll see.
Because they don't see her then.
Now, you're trying to say that Nancy is a piece of ass?
No, I was going to say.
All right. I thought that's where you were going with that.
No, I was going to say she got some big ass titties. She's like 70 something.
She's pushing 80. I think so. I think she's pushing 80.
When you got money in government, you can keep young looking.
Well, they're not sagging
don't you
too
know
much.
those things are this big? Don't you know when she takes that bra off, her knees go, ah, damn.
that support bra's got a little extra support for old Nancy.
There's got to have reinforcement.
There you go. All right, wrestling fans, we're talking about a big one. It was April of 1989. The World Wrestling Federation invaded Trump Plaza in Atlantic City, New Jersey for the second year in a row. It was sold out for a $1.7 million gate. One of the great.
How much it was?
$1.7 million in '89.
And I only got 1,000.
No.
What? That was number 5, right?
Yeah.
What did I get?
You had to have got a better payoff.
I got $5 grand.
$5 grand for that one?
Yeah. And they got what?
$1.7 million for the gate.
Because, is that net or gross?
Gross.
That's what they grossed. So they still netted about $100
I'm sure. I'm sure Hulk and Macho walked off with very handsome paydays for that one.
Well,
but
they deserved it. They drew it.
I got to ask you this. What happened the night before WrestleMania 5? Shawn Michaels gets into the fight with the wife. You two go out
How
and
do you remember that? I told you that before, didn't I?
No, it wasn't you. It was it was one of your peers at the time.
I got peers?
Peers.
I know.
He gets in a fight with the wife. You guys go out drinking until 4 o'clock in the morning. And then it was told by this individual that Shawn apparently needed extreme substances to be able to participate in the match where you and
Against
Shawn took on Ray
Towers.
Traylor and George Gray, the Twin Towers.
What's his name? George? I knew it was George.
George Gray.
Gray?
Yes.
I knew it was George.
Hakeem and the Big Boss Man. So what happened the night before Mania?
We were nervous.
Yeah. So were you there when Shawn got into the fight with the wife?
No, we met downstairs because I had, previous to that part, I was downstairs with my girl. And,
Now this is a girlfriend.
Yeah, Raylyn, that's who I was sitting on. We lived together for like 6 years.
Oh, wow. Oh, really? 6
The right
years?
girl, just the wrong timing. You know,
Yeah.
I was a small town boy that
You know, only been with maybe a couple dozen, 3 dozen girls, because Columbus wasn't that big.
So
Columbus, where-
you're down enjoying the casino life.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
Sean
I was
is with
drifting again,
and
wasn't I?
Sean is with his wife, and they get into an argument.
Well, see, I didn't see the argument.
Yeah.
I was with Ray Lynn. That's when I first met Trump. Well, we met him earlier that day for a photo op, and you know, at that time he was a casino owner, and
Right.
we met all kinds of people.
You didn't know he'd become the president.
Yeah, I didn't know how he was just in a casino, and he's the nicest guy in the world. That's why the facade he puts on now, it's not for us, it's for the other countries, but it's like a damn, who told me, my cat told me, the wolf,
Yeah.
he said, Biden, you trying to convince Biden people, you know, supporters, is like trying a bumblebee or a bee, a bee trying to explain to a fly why honey's better than shit. They're not going to understand it.
That's one way to word it. Yeah.
Yeah, but so, you know, Trump come over. I told you, I said this on another episode, earlier episode. Yeah, he come over and he's smiling. Hey, Marty, as he walks up, me and Ray Lynn, you know, right there together. And I was like kind of surprised, like, because he had said he was a big fan, and I thought he was just, you know, you say
Working
that.
you, yeah.
Yeah.
Just
but
being
when he
polite
I was
and
like,
friendly.
well, damn, that's pretty cool. The guy does know me. And he said, how you doing? I said, I'm doing good. How you doing? He goes, no, I mean, you know, around here. And he was so soft-spoken, too. I mean, he was like almost whispering. He's soft-spoken, unlike on TV now, right?
Yeah, right.
And, you know, I was like, oh, you know, win some, lose some. You know, I'm pretty much even. And he looked over the craps table where we just walked away from. He says, give him a 500 marker. And I didn't know what that was. And,
Yeah,
you know,
we got a Sharpie right here.
Oh, yeah. Give me that.
Got a marker?
You know, I showered. Yeah, I showered last night because I got it written on here to stop mumbling.
I don't think you need to write it again, though.
But I showered, and it's
And you
still.
washed a little of it off?
And I used this.
Oh,
And it's still somewhat there.
good. But
I'm
at least
still-
it's a quality pen, we know.
But I'm still mumbling.
All right, you're not mumbling.
I'm gonna
So, all
write
right,
it on here.
take us back to that.
But
So you get your $500 marker, you're gambling on the Donald, which was very generous of the man. Sean gets into this fight, 4 a.m. he comes down and finds you, or I don't know. What?
yeah,
how
me,
you
me
guys
and Ray Lynn
hooked
were
up.
going back to our room. We were on the same floor,
Uh-huh.
whatever it was. It says no mumbling.
Collector's item.
Just, yeah, yeah. Let's sell this tonight or last week. So we're on the same floor.
Yeah.
And Sean's come storming out his room, and I'm walking back with Ray Lynn, and he was like, I'm like, where are you going? He goes, fuck you, you know, he's all mad. I'm like, what's going on? Fuck Teresa. Her name was Teresa. Fucking Teresa started some shit or something. I don't remember exactly what was said, but I said, where you going? He goes, I'm going downstairs to drink. And I looked at Ray and I was like, fuck you, get in the room. I had to make something up so I could go. But she didn't mind. She, you know, me and Sean were like brothers, you know. I got to I got to go with him. So we went down there and drank till, I don't know if it was 4 in the morning, but it was a long time. I can't even spell no more.
So it was a late night in Atlantic City with you and Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, and then and the next day we were hungover, bad. But which was not an unusual thing.
So it's the biggest day of the year for the company.
Yes, our first.
Your
that was our
first
first
WrestleMania. And
Like,
you're
that's like the
hungover.
Super Bowl.
How do you prepare to go to?
This might not be vodka.
How did you prepare to?
Man, I wrote on my leg.
Akeem and Boss Man.
Well, that was
day?
the thing. We were nervous to death because you got 6'6", 6'7", 375. I stopped mumbling, so I put my hand in front of my face. Damn. Now I got to make another note. No hands. but we were scared, man, because it was our first WrestleMania. It's like we made it. WrestleMania, we made it. And our family and our friends, you know, we're thinking they're going to get to see us. And we
Did your
never
friends
were
and
told
family
till the
come
night
into the
before.
show?
Huh?
Did your friends and family come in for the show?
Nah.
Oh, so they were going to watch on
On
pay-per-view.
TV, yeah.
Yep.
But that's your big moment.
Yeah.
You've made it. WrestleMania, you've made it. I'm sorry about my Bluetooth coming apart. Every week I say next week I'm getting it. Next week I am getting it, though. 2 weeks from now. Next week's the surgery. That happened.
Back in November,
yeah. Damn, we do a lot of these.
We do.
But Oh, I forgot.
So
what
the
else.
next day, so what happened? So it's
So
WrestleMania
we were scared
Sunday.
to death because, you know, they didn't tell us. A lot of times back then, you didn't do what they began to do. Here's another one of them teeth in here. They didn't do what they do. Now you go around 3 or 4 or 5 times to get the match down pat, then go to the show with it. Back then, no. You didn't know who he's working with sometimes. So the day before. And here we
Well,
are.
they advertised you and Hakeem and the Boss Man ahead of time.
Did they?
It was advertised on television, yeah.
Oh, they didn't tell us shit. We were probably drinking too hard. but we found out when we found out, like the day before, we panicked. Like, here's our Super Bowl, and then here comes the New York Giants, and here's a little high school team. That we'd be the high school team. What are we gonna do? Shit, the biggest guys in the company, 6'6", 6'7", 350, 375 pounds, and 5'11" and 6 foot tall, 220 pounds. What are we gonna do with them? How are we gonna make this a competitive, a good show? And so we were scared, and we did what we did when we got scared. We threw a few drinks down, and
Any
usually
medicine?
when you're hungover,
Medicine?
I don't think we did medicine that night. I think we just drank.
I was told by at least Sean, we had to indulge quite a bit to be
That
able
was
to go.
WrestleMania 7.
Or maybe they had the ears messed up. All right, so I thought that was 5. But so you were hungover WrestleMania.
Yeah, and
you're
the good
preparing
thing-
for Boss Man and Hakeem.
Yeah, and the
so take us from there.
Okay, so the best thing about having a hangover the next morning, because TV days, you got it. Back then, you had to be there by 1 o'clock. They want you there at noon, but you know if you're later than 1, that's when them fines come out. But that's a long ass day because you're going to be doing interviews and promos and pictures and all this crap all day, and then come 7 o'clock, they start what they call the dark matches. You know, where they have matches that aren't for the show, but it's to start warming up the crowd, which to me sucked because time to get there. Because with regular TV tapings, not a pay-per-view, but regular, they do back then. I don't know what they do now. I ain't been there in a while. Back then, we do 3 weeks worth in one night. So you got week 1, week 2, week 3, and you got the big chalkboard. You go see where you're at. Like, oh, we're on week 2. Oh, we're on week 1 and 3. But you find out where you're at. But they would start with the warm-up hour. You know, it'd be new guys or
Tryouts
some
and...
guys. Yeah, and so the crowd is seeing that. Time you get to that 3rd hour, which is going to show 3 weeks somewhat like what we do, it's going to show way later. But the crowd is like this. You're
just waiting for those advertised main events.
Yeah, the main event is going to be the last ones, and that's what they came for. That's what they paid for. And they've already seen 4 hours of wrestling, or 3 hours. They saw the dark matches. What they called it dark because they didn't put it on TV.
And sometimes there'd be matches they'd tape for All-American, 1 or 2 matches. Sometimes they'd tape a couple for primetime wrestling. So it wasn't always just 3 weeks of superstars and 3 weeks of challenge.
It was so much to that last hour. I mean, and then they came back alive for the main event, like Hulk versus Warrior or whatever.
They'd give loaded main events, yeah. They wouldn't go very long, but they'd give the advertised match. But for those fans that aren't familiar with it, those TV tapings back in the 80s into probably up until 95 or so, sometimes you'd have upwards of 30 matches in one night.
More than that, actually. Yeah, because they would have the numbers, match 1, 2, 3. You had the hours, divided, first hour, second hour, third, but they had them numbered. When they went to the second hour, they had it numbered. So if you were match 12, you always want to start warming up around 9 or 10, a few matches at a time. And so you would see what number you are. You really didn't worry about the hours, what number are you, and oh my God, like I said, especially if it was already a hard town. When what I mean by that, the crowd was hard. You had to do a lot to impress them, because we say they're sitting on their hands tonight, because they're not clapping, they're not doing anything. And if they start that way, and you give them 3 hours, and a lot of times
of squash matches,
the time you get out there on that 3rd hour, they ain't doing shit. They ain't doing. That's when they started piping in the sound.
Yeah.
They did what they did.
Sweetening it up. Yep.
Yeah, they would. Mean Gene would go out there. Guys, let's really let them know what we think about them. We love wrestling, and have them all. Yay! He goes, what do y'all think? We want to know what you think of Jesse Ventura, and get them all boo.
Ooh, yeah.
and they record that and play it during the matches.
It's very smart.
Yeah, it's very smart. Everything they do is smart. That's just like all the flashes you see going on.
Yeah, a lot of them were on the lighting grid.
Yeah, there was a circular around there with a little bulb, pop, 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 pop. It ain't cameras, but
smart business.
Yes, very, very, very.
So WrestleMania 5 now, back to that event. You're a keen big boss man, you're hungover.
The good thing about a hangover, and some of y'all ever had a hangover might know this, when you're hurting that bad, you don't give a shit about anything else. It's just like, oh my God. Hey man, the car won't start, fuck it, we'll walk. Something like that. And so we wasn't so scared, and then we got together with them and talked some things over, and the more we talked it over, it was like, this could work. And it ended up being pretty decent. We ended up having a good match. But then we did that double drop kick, which we only came up with it that day. We thought
that was a good spot.
Well, we were thinking of double drop kicking them from the ground, but we had done that to so many guys that we thought, these are monsters. We got to make it look like they're monsters. Well, if we go to the top rope and do a double drop kick from the top rope, well, you got the time that good. We did it a few times, but that was the only time we did it on TV. And I've seen anybody else do that. I've seen a lot of moves replicated and duplicated and imitated, but never, or duplicated, I guess was the word. I mean, never duplicated. Because you got to time it so good. It's not that you can't jump to the middle of the ring, both of you. we jump past that, but you got to get there at the same time. Because if one gets there and the guy goes down, the other one's going to be shooting by. And I've seen that. I have seen people try it, and that's what happened. One gets there, the other one sails over. And then you got to sell it. You were given a drop kick, now you got to sell it. You were given the move. But I thought it went pretty good. You saw it?
Oh, yeah.
You thought it was all right?
Yeah. I thought it was actually one of the better matches on the show.
I ain't saying much.
That was a boring show.
Yeah.
That was one of the worst. Both of the WrestleManias in Atlantic City were terrible. Terrible shows.
He's got gat.
Well, his WrestleMania shows did. But,
yeah, he did a couple of them. That was the only one I was on.
Well, they did 4 and 5 at Trump Plaza.
4 was there?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what was the prep like? What was it like to interact with Boss Man and Akeem and trying to put the match together? Did they have any ideas they liked? Did they have any ideas
we
of their
didn't know
own?
him that well.
Yeah.
I knew a gang from Mid-South. I'd been down there and met him when he one-man gang, And I think he came in as one-man gang.
He did, yeah. And then they changed him into the African Dream. Yeah.
Well, at first he hated that, but then he started having fun with it. He'd come out and do it, and he's like, shit, I'm just cutting up out there. He found a way. It's always the way you internalize something, You internalize it to yourself that, hey, man, I'm just out there playing. I ain't serious at all. And he was able to do it, it became comical. But they were good to it. They were good. I mean, we were scared to death. Because like I said, we're looking like, we'll shoot you in and I guess give us a tackle. I mean, what are we going to do with y'all big asses? But they suggested a couple of things, and we realized when they did that, oh, okay, they don't want to just come in and pummel us. Because they were new as a team. They've been around, but they were new as a team.
Yeah, they just put them together in late '88 to work with Hogan and Macho.
Yeah. Oh, is that right? God dang, you're an encyclopedia. But who's that to the right? Real quick.
My glasses aren't on. I can't see.
She's cute. But there's a TV over here with WWE Network. But anyway, what were we saying?
Akeem and Boss Man.
Yeah, they were nice. They suggested a couple of things that let Sean and I know, like, okay, they're not coming in as a new team. Like, let's just squash out the Rockers. And yeah, but we was able to. Hey, what if we did that? Everybody's together on it. Mm-hmm. Because there's sometimes you get together. A lot of the boys out there will know this. You can tell, kind of right off when you try to set a match up. The ones that really ain't into it, like, nah, I don't like that shit, because they're kind of quiet. They don't say much. And they don't even say, yeah, they just kind of don't say nothing. They might nod their head, but okay, they're not into it. They're not getting it. Or they don't want to do it, one or the other. And then you got to figure out how to get on the same page. They're on a different page. They think they're squashing us. We think they're not, and so, those are always difficult. As you get more experience, you learn how to work with that too. Sometimes you have to stroke their egos,
Were you disappointed that you wound up working with the Twin Towers out of all the teams there possibly could have been for that
Well, at
WrestleMania?
first,
Would you like
yeah.
to have gone in with Arn and Tully at Mania?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, we were disappointed because here's our big damn Super Bowl World Series. Here it is. And we're going to look like idiots. Because we were thinking that we're going to squash jobbers. We're going to go out there, these big guys who just scam, bam, bam, pin. And thank God that was with the right ankle. But it was just, you know, they were so nice. Both of them are nice guys. You know, Ray, God bless the rest of his soul. What'd you call him, Gary?
George Gray.
Gray, the Gray, that's the part I was trying to remember. Gray, not Gary. But they're both such nice guys. Such nice guys. And, you know, we didn't know that until we actually sat and talked with him. I knew Gang, like I said, Mid-South, knew he was a nice guy. But, you know, he was a correction officer?
Yeah.
Or a prison guard, one or the other.
He stole Boss Man's gimmick.
Yeah, he had it before. Ray was actually did something.
He did it too?
In
For in real
Atlanta.
life? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah, so maybe that's why they put them together.
Yeah.
I think it was the size thing.
Sure.
What they call them, Twin Towers?
The Twin Towers, yeah.
But I mean, it was cool. We felt better about it after we sat and talked with them and put the match together. But then we was like, are we going? You know what? And a lot of my, I've taught this with my kids in seminars. Sometimes when you put one move in that's tricky, like we put the double drop kicks in, it messes you up for the whole match because no matter what you're doing, you're thinking of that one, when that's coming, it's like, okay, shit, we're going to be able to get that, we're going to be able to get, because, you know, it's risk. You know, big rewards come with big risk, you know, but there's a risk it may not work, you know, so you're always thinking about, you're always thinking ahead of that spot, like, okay, whatever you're doing right here is just kind of autopilot because you're thinking of that spot, you know, and that's when you screw up is when you're on autopilot. You know, you think you got this part down, don't worry about it. You know, it's like catching the football or an orange. You know, you're looking and you turn your head at the last second to see who's coming or what move you want to make. And then the ball hits and bounces out because you're supposed to look it all the way through. It's sort of the same thing with wrestling. Every spot has got to be seen through. You know, you don't look like, I got arm drag, hip toss, slam. I got all that shit. It's that double drop kick. But, it went well. We almost, one of us, I don't know, one of us kind of, like I told you, if one gets there too soon,
Yeah.
we almost, one of us was lucky enough to scrape across his face. So we did get him, but still almost over. And we had such good, we synchronized so good, like we'd look and give the nod and the bounce, because the ropes, you know, the turnbuckle, the ropes, and when you're on top and you bounce down, it gives. So it's almost like a springboard. You know, you got to, and when there's two people on it, it bounces different.
Yeah.
You know, so you got to time that out and jump at the same time. It's got to be precision timing. But it worked out, and you know, we still got beat. We hated that. You know, it's like, damn, did we ever get to win? We're probably one of the better tag teams here. At the time, becoming the most popular tag team there, but we never win. And you know, we complain so much about we never get the belt. You know, we're never going to get the belt. All we're going to do is chase it, chase it, chase it, chase it. And we just went through a year of that in AWA with Buddy Rose and Doug Summers. We chased them for a year, and finally we got it. You know, and it was a big deal until we left, went to WWF. But it was the same thing there. It was like, we got to go through this again, chase.
Well, you had a babyface tag team champions at that time, so that didn't help.
Again, Roddy Piper told us something.
Now, funny enough, Roddy Piper made his return to the company after 2 years that very night. But
was it?
Yeah, he did the segment with Morton Downey Jr. and Brother Love.
Was that 5?
Yeah.
Wow, I thought that was later on.
No.
I'll be damned.
Did you interact with Morton Downey Jr. at all?
No, I never got to see him. I would have liked to. I used to watch his shows.
Yeah, one of the most popular talk show hosts at the time. He did a couple of wrestling segments.
Yeah,
but
I missed him.
Did you meet Roddy Piper that night when he came back?
Yeah, we were upset a little bit.
Why?
Well, because we were going to be, you know, we're losing our big Super Bowl, and we got to lose, and we never get to win the house shows either. And we never got to be, you know, champions. And Roddy was very sharp. He picked up on stuff. And he took a liking to us, which was good because he was brilliant, man, brilliant. With the psychology, he's up there. He might, He might be up there with Vince.
Really?
The only person I put above Vince on psychology is Jake the Snake.
Wow.
Yeah. Macho's up there. Those guys are high up the ladder there. But, you know, so we always soak in what they say. And, you know, Roddy told us, he said, the reason you guys don't get the belt is almost you're getting punished for being so good. And we're like, we didn't get it at first. You know, we were still young. You know, we were still maybe 3 years in the business, 2.5. But we were like, don't get it. What do you mean? I mean, why we don't get the belt because we're getting punished? And he goes, no. You know how he talks. No. He goes, that's not it. Let me tell you what it is. You guys are so good, you don't need a belt to get over. Where some guys need a belt.
Needed the belts.
Yeah. And so that made sense. So it made it.
Compliment to some degree.
Yeah. But you still
want them, yeah.
But you know, it might have shortened their run because once you reach the top, where you go?
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So.
And you met the Hot Rod for the first time. Any interesting first impression of the man?
Initial thing was like I said, him always giving us good advice. And you know, I'd watched him. He's one I watched since I was like 16 or 17 years old, when he was first in NWA or Georgia Championship Wrestling. You know, whatever they were showing in Columbus, Georgia at the time, it was either Georgia Championship or NWA, whatever it was. You know, but first time I ever seen him, he did something and he took a bottle like this.
Yeah.
By the way,
yeah.
this Fabo,
Fabo Pop.
I still can't get it right. Paramount. No.
Patreon.
I'm gonna get these words right. This is very good root beer. All of his products, I love them.
All of the flavors are delicious.
Yes. I just had a root beer last week on here, and I was amazed how good it was.
Well, he only puts out the best.
Yep.
It's all about the quality, just like his piece.
Like his what?
His piece.
Piece?
Yeah.
What's that?
You know, the Thunderdome.
Oh.
What about the big man? Oh, I'm sorry.
But he came out and he had like a beer bottle over his head.
Oh, yeah, and he busted
remember
himself
that?
over. Yep, yeah. I think he did that in Portland. Did he do it in Georgia, too?
Yes, he did in Georgia.
Oh, he repeated
But we
the
heard
angle.
about it from Ron Ritchie. I know nobody's going to know that name, but Ron Ritchie was a great athlete. He outdid us on the party.
Really?
Yeah, he did too much, and he just became brain dead. What a great athlete. And, man, he was over. The people loved him. But he just couldn't stay away from the Quaaludes and not necessarily the medicine, but that was involved once in a while. But mainly he was a pill man, like the Quaaludes and shit. They're just getting like this. I remember one time, what's the ones that Placidils? You know, the jail ones?
Yeah.
Why do you know that?
I'm just after 27 years of doing this, I've become familiar.
Placidils, or you know, they're jail things. And boy, did you take one, you're good. Like, hey, shit. You take two, you're gonna be laying on the floor doing that. Everybody's like, get up, like, this is good.
You're content with life.
Yeah, but you bite, and when you bite them, instead of just swallowing them, you bite them, and they get to jail right away. It hits you almost immediately.
Quick.
Yeah, and old Buzz Sawyer, remember Buzz Sawyer?
Yeah.
Buzz Sawyer we was at the club. Capri, it wasn't a club necessarily, but it was a hotel bar where everybody knew that the wrestlers would be, and the wrestlers were living there because they had like a weekly rate and a monthly rate.
Oh, okay.
You know, so if you were going to be there only a few months, you just
it was
go
a good
there.
place to go. Yeah,
It was great because they clean your room, you got a phone, you know, everything.
It's like home. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like having a maid.
Yep. And some of the maids look good there. They're called housekeeping now, though.
Oh, they're not maids any longer.
I met one last night at the
Yeah, what was her name?
I'm not sure. Jane?
Jane.
Yeah.
Well.
Her last name was Fonda.
Oh, really?
But so that's the inside.
fondled.
Yeah, it's Fonda. That's it. There was the inside on that one. That might have come
Like a
off
hatchet to a tomato.
Yeah, man. Some of them girls can do it.
Poor Ted. Ted must have really laid it in. I don't know.
Well, I got to tell you a bad story.
All right, what do we got?
But we're skipping around now.
That's all right.
The first time I met DiBiase, you talking about?
No, I was talking about Ted Turner.
Oh, he told you back on her again. Man, stop. Where was we at, Matt Daddy? 'Cause we got to get back on subject. Well, you're supposed to be reeling me in.
What did you? How about this? Any memories of one of the big matches in company history? Hogan and Macho Man with Miss Elizabeth at ringside, torn between the two men.
We talked about that in the episode. Remember?
Well, you talked about
Snatching
leading
the
up
door.
to the show. Yeah, leading up to the show, there was some issues between the two in the locker room. But day of the show, anything?
Well, it was because of
went
the
out-
match.
They had a great
it was like
match.
you said about picking up Elizabeth and moving her. Randy had felt like he got too close to her boobs.
I thought it was-
where you gonna pick her up? Her ass? Then you're too
Right.
close to her ass.
I thought it was amusing when
pick her up by her head.
when Elizabeth entered the arena. Pat Patterson was behind her with his arms out. I guess Randy trusted Patterson to behave himself with Elizabeth.
Yeah, Pat ain't gonna mess with a girl.
No, he's I just remember thinking that was funny, that the way Patterson kind of walked her out with his arms at her side. Elizabeth was always well protected. I remember at the old shows I'd go to at the Boston Garden, there might be 12 cops around her and Randy when the cops when they would come out to the ring to protect her from the crazy fanatical fans. But any memories of the main event that night? No, it was a good match. Any memories of the show in general other than your match?
You talking about WrestleMania 6?
WrestleMania 5 and AC.
Yes. No, a big time memory.
Well, what do we got?
Okay, first of all, it's WrestleMania. Second of all, we got the. It's the first time we're on a national stage that is a big deal.
The big one.
Yes, and your family, your friends, and we're sitting behind the curtains. The big guys have gone out. We're sitting there waiting for our music to hit. And I've told this story. Some of y'all gonna know this already. But it's your big moment, the biggest in life to that point. There's been some bigger ones since, but at that point, nothing gets better than that. Music hits. Hit the curtains out of the way, go charging down the long ass ramp.
Long ramp.
It was like about 40 or 50 feet. It
was a long
and we
ramp.
always ran, so shit, we're gonna get tired.
And
time we
they
get
were
to the
kind
ring.
of tiered steps too.
Well, there
if I
was one
remember.
step. It was all the way down.
Yeah.
And one step, halfway down. Now I'm behind Sean, and the fans are all reaching over the railing, grabbing and shit, so I can barely see anything. And I got this right here. I'm running. I got to squat so I don't get out of frame. And I'm running down behind Sean, and there's that one step I didn't see it. And I reached down like, and I fell over, and I'm trying not to fall down, and I'm reaching up when I grab Sean by his tights to keep from falling, and to pull it down. His ass is partially hanging out. And he thinks I'm playing. Stop playing. Stop playing. He's knocking my hand off.
I'll have to go back and watch that.
Yeah. And life's most embarrassing moment. That was it.
At WrestleMania,
Yeah. Couldn't be a bigger stage. And when it originally happened, everybody, you don't know what happened. You can just see me and him bouncing like this is head level of the crowd. You see us going, and all of a sudden I'm gone, and then I'm back up. They don't know that I fell. I think they cut it out on the video since.
Oh, really?
But a lot of people didn't see it. They go, "What was that?" I was like, I didn't fall. I grabbed. It's so funny because I had to tell Sean later because he thought I was fucking with him, like pulling his pants down, going to the ring for WrestleMania. No, brother, I was trying not to fall. But that's my biggest memory. And now we got to get in the ring with the Giants. Yeah, I think after that, I wasn't worried about the ring. I already made an ass of myself.
Would you bother to watch the rest of the show after your match, or would you go back to the hotel?
I think I didn't watch the rest. I think I was relieved that everything went good. We survived. And plus, like I said, that life's most embarrassing moment. What time we got?
Time-wise, we're at about 4 o'clock.
Here?
Yeah.
Where are we? Boston?
We're in Boston.
Oh, yeah. So
you didn't really have an interest in the rest of the show.
It's not that. It was such a relief.
You were.
I think we were home and watched it. On
back at the hotel.
Yeah. But we was just so relieved because for 48 hours we were stressing that match, and then to start it off, I'm falling down in front of like millions of people, right? And millions of people watching that, and I can't even damn jog to the ring, right? But Kurt Hennig even got mad about it. He goes, "Why didn't somebody tell us? It's one step." And think about that. Why is there one step down in a 40 or 50 foot ramp? I mean, not ramp, but flooring, the wood flooring and stuff. And for no reason, 30 feet in, one step down. And that's it. Just one damn step. I think that was put there on purpose to fuck me up.
Well, also on that show, you saw the return of the first time since you talk about a wrestling scandal. It was the return of Superfly Jimmy Snuka.
Was it? That was the...
You remember of kind of an aging Jimmy Snuka at that point as he returned to the company after his...
Well, we'd met him in AWA.
Okay, so you already knew Jimmy.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I was happy because I love Jimmy.
Yeah, good man.
So much
he headlined our first event back in 2001. He was one of the featured stars.
Is that right?
Yep.
This Flomax right here.
And you want to know something funny about Jimmy?
You heard Flomax?
I thought the last time we used him was the weekend of Paul Bearer's funeral.
Oh, really?
But that's, yep.
He was still going?
He didn't work. No, we did a
okay.
Jimmy Snuka appreciation night. And he was so clear-minded. He was so, do you really need a break?
Yep.
Well, Jimmy did, at the end of his life, before his cancer and whatnot took over and he had those legal problems, he was in a good place, which I was happy about. Because I'd known him since the Tony Rumble days of the 90s. Right now, wrestling fans, we're going to take a quick time out, then we'll be back to wrap up the show. Wrestling fans, I'm Dan Marty.
And this is the man of the hour, Leo Rush.
It's all over BostonWrestling.com and our social media. But Leo, brother, they got to check out some of this merch.
They got to.
Check it out, fans, right now available on eBay.
Support Wrestling Insiders and keep wrestling legends working on eBay. Get this limited edition Bailey autographed Rob Schamberger outprint, one of only 50 made. A great addition to the collection of any Bailey fan, direct from WWE. Also comes with a mystery autograph photo and an on-air shout-out from WWE Hall of Famer Mr. USA Tony Atlas on Wrestling Insiders at your house. Get it now. Boston wrestling sports in the MWF explodes into a new year with professional wrestling content galore and need you to join our family. Every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. after our Monday Night Raw review, it's Wrestling Insiders at your house with WWE Hall of Famer Mr. USA Tony Atlas. Wednesday nights at 10 p.m. after NXT and AEW, join rotating legends on Wrestling Insiders Special Edition. Every Thursday night at 10 p.m. after our NXT and Dynamite review, it's Marty Jannetty's No Holds Barred Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll Journey on Wrestling Insiders Party with Marty. Friday night after SmackDown, don't miss John Cena Sr.'s Wrestling Insiders Fabulous Fridays. Plus, look for classic clips, history videos, bonus live episodes, pay-per-view watch-alongs, and more. For less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks, get early ad-free access to our Wrestling Insider talk shows, our acclaimed studio shoot interview DVD library, and help keep wrestling legends working during the worst of times. Join our growing family at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. Expect the unexpected in 2021.
All right, wrestling fans, welcome back. I can't keep you away from the Fabo Pop.
That's pretty good.
The wrestling fans keep typing in, Johnny, when is the soda going to be available? I guess the problem is they can't manufacture much of it right now because of everything that's going on in the Corona world. But once it is available, you know, we're going to promote it. I know Marty and I, we've discussed
man, it's good. I liked it. I thought
we've discussed.
Cherry. What was the red one that was here? That you
cherry.
You spilled one of them.
I spilled.
Oh, was it me?
Yeah.
But I thought that was good. But the root beer is unbelievable.
Well.
And there's other flavors, right?
Tony has his artwork. Johnny has his soda pop. With Marty, we're working on making, and forget about cameo videos. Forget about cameo videos with a cell phone. We're talking about making nice in-studio personalized videos and maybe even some Party with Marty t-shirts.
That'd be good.
I think they'd be really cool.
I'd buy one.
You get a free one.
Oh, do I get it? Take this off.
You can charge me.
You never did finish cutting my hair last week.
I'm no Ed Leslie. All right, back to talking a little bit about WrestleMania 5. Is it true that Randy Savage and Elizabeth got a legal separation just to try and make that angle with Hogan that much more legitimate?
That I wouldn't know. I don't
you
want to speak
You didn't hear about that time. No. I think, if true, talk about going to great lengths to make the angle real.
Well, some guys would do that shit. I mean, you know, I was willing to cut a finger off for an angle one time.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, what I need an extra finger
for? What angle?
You know, like one of them chopped, like I think it's a paper slicer. You know that thing that you.
Who were you going to do that for?
I can't remember. It was way back in about year 4 or 5 of my career.
In WWF?
Yeah.
You were going to?
Well, yeah, I thought, because you know there was so much going on that I thought, how are you really going to separate yourself from all the other shit going on? And I thought, well, you know, something like that, I don't care, man. I mean, my dad did fine. He had one chopped off from whatever reason. I don't want to get into that. I always get sad when I talk about my dad. because he's gone, you know. But he had this one was gone. And he got along fine, so I thought, what the hell? So what? Chop it off, and I think that's going to be talked about for a long time. You know what?
They'd still be talking about it now.
Outrageous stuff like the barbershop. That's been talked about. You know, that accidental death thing is like, if you look at the attention. Chattahoochee River, you know.
The vacation capital of Georgia.
But do they work? Did they get attention? Yeah, I get called a murderer now for some stupid ass reason.
We don't even want to go there. You know my feelings on that. But another WrestleMania 5 moment was Ultimate Warrior and Rick Rude for the Intercontinental title. A rare job for the Warrior in that match. Afterwards, Warrior gave Bobby Heenan the press slam and was very, very, very unprotective of Bobby, just dropping him like he was a piece of garbage.
I don't want to say it, you know, because I liked Warrior, you know, God rest his soul. I liked him a lot, but he was clumsy as shit in the ring. I never worked him, but I heard, you know, from all the guys. He's just, well, you know, him and Rick Rude got into it. You know about that, right? I told you. May not have told y'all. When I
vaguely.
When I say they got into it, Warrior was just, you know, a bull in a china shop. Bam, 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 boom, bam. If he hurt you, so what? He's trying to get over. Well, Rick Rude was the wrong one to do that with. And when they first started working each other, they had a couple matches, and Rude told Warrior, he goes, "You're hurting me with them stomach kicks. You're hitting me in the sternum." And he goes, "I spit blood tonight a little bit in the bathroom when I came back from the match." He goes, "If you can't lighten up on them, don't do them." "Oh, okay, sorry. And the next night, he, you know, bam, bam, bam. Rick, we saw Rick spitting little bits of blood, so he was kicking him that hard that something, you know, ruptured inside. I have no idea what, but I remember it like yesterday. It was Topeka, Kansas, and Rick never had, you know, he wasn't much of a partier anyway, but he never drank before show. And me and Kurt Hennig and, you know, Kurt doing well, they were like best friends.
Oh, yeah.
You know, grew up in Robbinsdale, Minnesota, which is right outside, you know, of Minneapolis. Best friends. They always hung out. They were, you know, like me and Sean were sort of, like the Nasty Boys were sort of, you know, always together.
They were that close, yeah.
Yeah. And they, what, oh, it's my hat. I'm lost. But anyway, Rick, we came into Topeka. It was their new arena, a nice big ass place. It wasn't the place where Topeka Patty used to give everybody blowjobs. It wasn't that arena, which I don't even know if that was a arena. It was a municipal auditorium or something. If it was full, it held 5,000 people. So, you know, it wasn't a
smaller place.
Yeah. And, but it was never full. We got a half full once. Anyway, back to the building. We go in, we come in, and Rick's sitting over in the corner there early. You know, Rick usually got there on time. But rare time we got there early, and he's already there. And he's over in the back of the dressing room. There's 2 beer cans. Like I said, he didn't really drink a lot. There's 2 beer cans right here, and he's got one in his hand. And we're like,
yeah, this is Rude?
Yeah, Rude.
Okay.
So we're like, something's weird here. What the fuck is he doing? Because he, like I said, even at night, at the clubs and stuff, he'd have a beer or 2. He, you know, he wasn't big into partying. He didn't do any drugs or anything. I don't know about roids. You know, that part I don't know. But he didn't do any of the recreational shit. So it was before his match, before the show. We're like, you know, finally, you know, we got quiet. Like something's wrong. Something ain't right. And Rick noticed that we were kind of shying away from him because you don't want Rick mad at you, and you don't want to, you know, say something to him. Why are you drinking, man? It's before the show. You know, so we just kind of quiet and said, when he came over to us. It was me, Sean, and Kurt. And Kurt doing better than anybody. And he goes, I don't know what's going on. This is not like Rick. And Rick came over and he said, Warrior, I've asked him 2 or 3 times to stop hurting me. And he said, and he keeps hurting me. Tonight, it was a day show actually. He goes, today we're going to see who hurts. And we're like, oh shit, now that goes to the shoot. So it's just going to be a shoot.
Just so you know, we have about 2 minutes left.
Okay, I saw him wrap up. But so anyway, we go watch the match, and sure enough, when Warrior, as he was getting ready to go to the spot where he's about to kick him, Rick drilled him in the chest. And Rick was a Golden Gloves boxer. He could box.
Oh, he had a boxing background.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He hit him in the chest so hard that we could see 40 feet back. You could see Warrior's eyes get like this, and went backwards. And then Rick married him, if y'all snapped in the rear chin lock, and we could see him talking to him. And Warrior, like when you're somebody's choking your ass out, it's a natural reaction to tap, like please stop, please stop. And we asked later, like, what happened in there? Rick said, he goes, well, I snapped married him and said, do you want to work or do you want to shoot? He said, Warrior said, work. And he goes, he didn't hurt me the rest of the match. And what topped it off was at the end, Rude was, where the finish was, Rude didn't win, but he was supposed to snatch the belt and like, nah, hell, you ain't getting it. And walk and run, and Warrior's gonna chase him back to the dressing room. He got the belt and he walked. And Warrior come out to chase him, he just looked back and walked, and Warrior stopped, he wouldn't chase him. So yeah, that
Problem
was,
solved.
Yep.
And from there it was smooth sailing
he
between
never
the
got
two.
potato. We call it potato when it's stiff. He never got Idaho'd again.
I'll say this as we wrap it up. Rude was one of the few guys that could get a decent match out of Warrior. One of the very few.
Honky Tonk used to say, he goes, God damn, it's killing me. You know how he talks real country. That motherfucker's killing me. It's all I can to make 5 minutes with his ass.
All right, wrestling fans, we're running out of time now. It was a pleasure to have you as we continue our series here on Thursday nights, Wrestling Insider's Party with Marty. Don't forget the Patreon campaign is rolling along. You can help keep Wrestling Legends working. If you're with us live on Thursday night during the premiere, the Super Chat is active. Don't forget to tip the bartender for this great information, this great entertainment we give you.
Paramount.
And the Patreon campaign.
I get it right
For
there.
complete information, folks, the description box below on the YouTube channel will give you all the info you need. For Marty Jannetty, I'm Dan Marty. We'll see you next week on Wrestling Insiders. Good night.
Yep.
Catch the live premiere of all 4 of our talk shows each week, Tuesday through Friday night at 10 p.m., where all of our regular friends and new fans get together to discuss the show and other happenings in the world of professional wrestling. You're talking about Slick Rick, Maria Davis, Tania, Don the Barber, all of the Kevins, Ken, Larson. You never know who's going to pop in. My longtime buddy, Brian Duffy, all of our great friends. If I forgot anyone, please, don't shoot the messenger. There are literally dozens and dozens of regulars. I can't remember them all. I'm half asleep as I put together this video. But 3/4 of the way through, now it's time for the 4th quarter. It's time for the man that keeps the crazy grounded in the world of Boston wrestling sports. I'm talking about the one and only John Cena Sr., Marjo Ouellette's lust interest at the moment. Tonight, Johnny shoots on Bobby Lashley as WWE Champion, the road to WrestleMania and all of the various players involved, thoughts on those in and out of the mix, and much more. Great episode with Mr. Cena about current WWE coming your way now.
All right, wrestling fans, thank you for spending your Friday night with us. We welcome you to our humble abode here in MWF Studios, downtown Melrose, Massachusetts, the zip code of champions, 02176. I know for you, it is not as exciting as Margot's boudoir, but, you know, it's not a bad backup.
Wow. Moniz is going to be really all over you.
Like I said, I'm going to wind up in pieces on the loading dock.
I'm sure you will.
And I like Moniz.
Well, keep it up, brother.
That would be the M that I'd keep, but you know what? It's at your discretion. Everybody likes a little French delicacy every now and then.
Margot?
Yeah.
Margot, you think I should talk to Margot? Maybe we can have something to do. You think maybe? Well, maybe we see Margot.
Maybe someday we'll do the Margot studio shoot interview.
Oh, that would be wonderful.
Her experiences on Ms. and Mrs. I know you must be excited, Johnny, that the day after WrestleMania, Ms. and Mrs. returns kind of outside of prime time. The original episodes are going to air at 11 p.m. after Raw, which I think is a hell of a lead-in for it.
It is.
Would that make you, as the average viewer, a little bit more, I know you might be in a couple of the episodes, but would it make you more apt to tune in to watch it if it was at the end of the wrestling show? As opposed to tuning in specifically on another night?
No.
Really?
No.
I think it helps a great deal. I think you have a built-in audience of 2 or so million people watching Raw. If Ms. and Mrs. begins just as that last match ends, I think that's a great lead-in audience, even if it is 11 o'clock at night.
Provided they're still as popular as they are, provided they have the content that they need. There's a lot of variables here.
Yeah. Are you a reality TV guy?
No.
You've been on a little reality TV.
Excuse me?
You've been on a little
I
reality
have been
TV.
on a little reality TV, and I think there's that fine line between
TV and
reality. Yeah. So you know what?
A little enhanced, maybe, or
Yeah, there's a go. That's a good one.
encouraged.
There you go. There you go.
I know the Kowloon, I believe, wasn't that the background of one of your
That was the
episodes
first
of reality
episode.
TV?
That was the very first shoot. If I remember correctly, Nikki was on crutches, and we asked, John asked if we could do that show at the Kowloon. Andy Wong and Bobby were very gracious, gave us that room, and I can only tell you that was probably one of the most outstanding fun nights we had. My son Dan he's comical anyway. Matter of fact, one of the directors came over during the break and said, I think we ought to do a series on the Cena family.
Really?
Yeah.
As opposed to
they were
those
doing-
that shall not be named.
Yes. Anyway, that
How
never.
long- you know, I know the things are so heavily edited for those types of programs. You know, you probably saw 5 minutes at Kowloon.
From the Kowloon,
And
right.
how long was the actual dinner? I'm sure you were there for quite a while.
Oh, it was 2.5 hours.
Yeah. Yeah, and that room, you know, that to us, that's a special room because a lot of the times after our Boston Wrestling MWF live events, you know, we're all back there
It
enjoying
was a
the
room
night.
way to the back.
Yeah.
Way to the
Yeah,
back.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
That was fun. We had a lot of fun
I got a
back
kick
there.
out of seeing that.
And that food was, I'll tell you, it just was
You get me
nonstop.
hungry, Johnny.
Nonstop.
You get me hungry.
Nonstop.
It's Friday night. I'm hungry as it is.
We
Stomach
could always
is
get
growling,
takeout.
Andy. The
Take
stomach is growling.
Takeout.
Andy.
Have it delivered.
We could do that.
Yeah, we
could
did
do
that for the
When
pay-per-view.
we did the Royal Rumble, yeah?
Yep.
Well, we're hoping you might be back for Fast Lane. Well,
I
that's
doubt
waiting
that.
done.
I don't.
The
I doubt
Fast
that.
Lane down 95 South won't be happening.
It won't be happening. No.
Well, the invitation is always there, Johnny.
Thank you.
In the world of WWE, what great news. I know we had pre-taped a couple of episodes, so we're catching up. But the new WWE champion, I feel like they finally got it right. We got to give him the big pat on the back. He looks the part. He wrestles the part. He has the humanity in his heart, I believe, to fit the role very well with all of the great community work he does in Denver, Colorado. The question is, can he hold it going into WrestleMania, and will he keep it at WrestleMania? The new champion, a man that I think should have got one of those world titles back in 2007, Mr. Bobby Lashley.
An outstanding athlete, human being, hard worker. On the indie circuit, I did several shows with Mr.
Right
Lashley.
down the street at Memorial Hall.
Yep,
We had him many, many times.
I did a lot of shows with Mr. Lashley. Well deserved. If the storylines are right and the opponents are correct, this could be a long-term championship. And let's hope WWE has learned their lesson. We don't drop them in 2 weeks. We don't drop them in 4. Let's have a little longevity here. Let's make it go the right way. And I think it could work to be something really, really good.
Unbelievable. I tell you, I was thrilled, Johnny.
I would be.
I finally feel like they have a champion you can believe in.
He's got it all. The
And
man
that's
has it
not a
all.
slight against The Miz, but, you know, like I've said before, I think The Miz is a nice kind of upper mid-card heel comedy routine, not world championship material. Drew McIntyre, again, I said it before, I'll say it again. I think they did the man a disservice having him lose the title before you had wrestling back in front of live crowds again. I would have, just to see how over or not so over McIntyre was, I would have waited for that organic response that you can only get from a live wrestling audience. That's one man's opinion, but now that he's lost a couple of times, they kind of took that specialness away from him.
It's
the one
gone.
way you get guys over is for them not to lose.
Yeah, the aura is gone from McIntyre. Unfortunately, he had a great gimmick. He still has a great gimmick. But what they've done to him, you know, it was not right. It really wasn't. And I agree with you. The pop should have been win or lose at WrestleMania, any pay-per-view that's got an audience. I agree.
They should have given him the chance to see, you know what, can this man be, as opposed to a top guy, one of the faces of the company for years to come? And I think they shot themselves in the foot because they really don't know. They don't know how, again, organically, how hot he was at his peak when he was the world champion that could not be beaten. They took that away from themselves.
Yep,
They
they
chose
did.
to. You
They
know, it
did.
was a decision. Putting the title on Randy Orton for 3 weeks was meaningless. It didn't do anything for television ratings. It didn't do anything for WWE Network subscriptions. As far as the road to WrestleMania, that takes many twists and turns, much like Tony and Marty's talk shows. I mean, you know what? But between the pay-per-view Fastlane and even seeing a world title change on Raw when Lashley beat The Miz, a lot of things can happen between now and April 10th and 11th at Raymond James Stadium in beautiful, sunny Tampa, Florida.
A lot can happen between now and then. I just hope they do it the right way.
I hope Cecil the Lion is alive in the control room.
I see him. He's fine.
I haven't seen the camera switch.
He's fine. He's fine. He's doing a great
job. All right. He's doing a great job.
He's doing a great job.
I don't know if he's a security guard or a technical director.
I don't know why you bug that guy. He does an awesome job.
I love Cecil the Lion. I love Cecil the Lion.
You don't buy him lunch. You make the kids work in a cold control room.
Cameras if you
got him in Bermuda shots back there.
He could change the camera shot every now
Why?
and then.
Your face is there.
Oh, he's...
From the booth.
So relax, brother.
From the booth,
You're
we
part
get
of the
it.
family, brother.
Good man, Cecil. I'm on your side, brother.
Anyway, but again, Bobby, I mean,
great guy.
Would you keep him as a heel as the champion?
I love it. I love it. And I think what you got to do now is let him play that heel, start to play that tweener, so you don't know whether he's going to be good or bad. Push him a little bit to that good side, and then whoop, there it is. Grab it. Right back to being the heel. He is fabulous as a heel.
No pun intended.
No, he's fabulous as a heel. I got to tell you something. You know, I work with him as a face. You've seen him as a face. What is his best look? That mean Bobby Lashley, like I'm going to kick your ass and destroy the world. Roman Reigns, what saved you?
Well, to some degree, I agree with that.
You know,
I was always a Roman guy. I just didn't like the overall presentation.
No.
The presentation improved an awful lot, that's for sure.
And Roman Reigns improved an awful lot because what Roman learned was that he had to be Roman Reigns. He couldn't be this guy from the threesome that went out and kicked ass and take name and check numbers. No. And as he began to grow...
Well, you know what? You finish your thought.
No, he began to understand. And I don't think, you know, when they throw him into this thing, he does have input into his character. He does have input. Why would you let me go out in the ring and go, that's all, folks? Come on.
Well, I don't ever remember him saying that.
Yeah.
But here's the thing with me about Roman. I don't know if it was him. I think it was WWE Creative realized there was a better approach to go. You know, you took a guy that if you go back on WWE Network, look at Survivor Series 2013, Royal Rumble 2014, it was a very similar presentation to what you're seeing right now. Maybe not as developed or as well spoken. Maybe the material was a little more raw, but the fans were behind him to be the guy. It was when they decided to put him in the ring, cutting 20-minute promos, trying to do comedy, trying to be lighthearted. You know, when they put the blue contact lenses in his eyes to try and make him more handsome. I think they lost a lot of people. And I don't even know if it was Roman, much like your son. I don't know if it was Roman they necessarily disliked, other than the presentation of Roman they disliked.
I think they were both, because people believed he's going along with this. You know, you got to understand, folks, I don't think you quite get it. It's a job. You've got a boss. The boss is Vince McMahon. The boss is Triple H, Paul Levesque, Stephanie McMahon, Shane McMahon. You've got writers. You either play ball or you don't play ball. But the fact of the matter is, you do have input. Vince is always open to suggestion. I'm sure Paul Levesque is too. If it looks good, they might try it. But people began to buy it and say, well, Roman, you're part of this. You're enjoying it. So, you know what? I think all along, maybe the Samoans had something to say. Maybe they realized where the character was. I was not a Roman Reigns guy. You've got it on video.
Oh, I know.
When I did a comedy show with Mick Foley, one of the fans asked, you know, what would you do with Roman Reigns? I'll take Roman Reigns, bring him back, break his back. Pooh, Roman Reigns, not good.
You wanted to make Roman Reigns humble?
Yeah, humble.
You wanted to humble
No good.
Roman?
Out. Goodbye. No. And now look at him. Now look at where he's at. And that tells you the general genius of a man like Vince or Paul Levesque or Shane, because now what they've done is they brought me wrestling. They brought me a storyline that can be believable.
Well, I'll tell you this, Johnny, at least for the moment, and usually you do get your better content on the road to WrestleMania, as the most thought of the year is generally put into the big event, but
Yep.
it's compliments across the board. On SmackDown, you have a world champion you can believe in.
Yep.
On Raw, you have a world
Yep.
champion you
Finally.
can believe in.
Finally.
It took them a long time. I can't think of the last time I could say, honestly, as someone that just enjoys watching the show, that you had two top guys that I am immersed in and I'm interested in what they're doing.
You know me, I say it like it is. I get in trouble for saying it, but I got to side with you. First time.
In a long time.
Outside of Cena or Austin or The Rock, first time. First time. And
But I'm saying the champions on both brands.
I agree. You finally
Both
get
of them
something
are-
that's there.
I'm very happy with both of them right
I would
now.
agree, 100%.
Now, we know that Roman's road to WrestleMania has pretty much been solidified outside of what would have to be considered a major surprise, and that we will have the 2021 Royal Rumble winner Edge challenging Roman at Raymond James Stadium for the Universal Championship. But who will be facing Lashley right now is unknown. There are many variables and there's many potential opponents. Could you see The Miz getting a rematch at WrestleMania with Lashley?
See, I think the world of The Miz. I really do. He's a great friend. Every time I go in, he's a great guy. Always say hi to his parents. They're super folks. You know what?
And a great representative of the company in the industry.
You took the word right out of my mouth. Let him do what he does best now. You've got a guy that really is a champion, not that The Miz wasn't, but he's there. Let's give him an opponent that we can believe can destroy him. Braun Strowman. Give him somebody big. Give him somebody that we can work. John Cena. I mean, anything like that, I think is going to add credibility to the title. Because I disagree with one of the comments you made. You said, which one of these guys or both of these guys could be the potential face of the company for years to come? I said it before, I'll say it again. You will never, ever have faces of the company for years to come. Maybe one, maybe two. That's it. They just aren't doing what they did before. You'll never have the Austins. You'll never have the Bret Harts, the John Cenas, the Rocks. It's just not going to happen. So will you have guys that can carry it for a while? Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, I have a hunch that WWE may go the route that they were hoping they could have gone a year ago, in that you almost get WrestleMania 36 Part 2 when a potential Drew McIntyre-Lashley match. You have Drew win the title from Lashley in front of an audience. But, what the past year happened, and I think most fans remember that. Would you go the route of Drew McIntyre and Bobby for the title at WrestleMania with Drew getting it?
I think I would go the match. I think that would be an outstanding match. Two great workers. Two guys who are totally dedicated to the business. Not that the other people in the business aren't. Would I have him walk away with the belt? Probably not. Or if I did, who's going to be the heel? Who's going to be the face? There's got to be a gimmick there where he grabs the trunks. It's got to be some crap involved there, because you can't let that storyline end at WrestleMania.
Even though I have not heard any rumors to the contrary, but one of the few matches left that I can honestly say I would really like to see that's never been done before. What about Bobby Lashley defending the WWE Championship against the former title holder, Brock Lesnar?
Another excellent choice. Another excellent choice. That would be pulling the rabbit out of the hat. Fans would absolutely go nuts over that. However, now the question becomes, two MMA fighters. Ashley is super at what he does. Listen, I always told you this. I would never want to argue with Brock Lesnar or Lashley. I think that would be an outstanding match. Question, how would it end up? Who would walk out the champion? There's the question. I think you'd have to put the belt back on Lashley, or if Lesnar walked out with the belt that night, you'd have to let it go a couple of weeks, and Lashley scoops it back with a rematch clause. We do something that puts Lashley out of commission. Maybe it's Heyman that throws up the knuckles or whatever. Lashley's out for 3 or 4 weeks. Guess who's a man in a mask begins to commit and harass. Nobody knows who that man is.
They've done enough of that with Retribution.
Well, but do you remember and I don't know if you remember this. You're just a young feller. Remember when they had Ric Flair and the Tiger and the magician thing with he'd appear, disappear. Oh,
The Black Scorpion?
yeah.
Yeah.
That was, see what I'm trying to say? I think that kind of storyline, people were into that kind of thing.
I think there's been enough hocus pocus with Alexa Bliss and Randy Orton lately, but that's one man's opinion.
Hocus pocus.
Well, you know, Randy Orton throwing up black ooze with Alexa Bliss on a television screen.
You know what?
I really am not feeling that.
The Papa Shango stuff doesn't go. There's only one guy that could do that, Papa Shango. And my whole thing is, you know what? Randy Orton is an outstanding athlete, but even he is wearing thin now. People are tired of Orton.
I think people are tired of him being presented as an idiot.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to say. Orton. Make him who he is.
Dominated by this 5-foot-tall possessed woman.
Correct. Make him who he is.
On.
He's a rattle. He's the man. He's the Viper.
If it was a different era, he'd give her the RKO and he'd give her that old Ronnie Garvin stomp, and that would be the end of
over.
Alexa
I've been
Bliss.
there for both of those. But I'm telling you, this is what's hurting. And that's why people are going, you know what? Why am I watching? They've taken Orton, and they've made him Orton. Make him Orton. Make him the man that we know, the Viper. What was he before? The destroyer of legend killer?
Legend killer.
See? Those are the things that made Orton who he is and what he should be now.
Do you think...
Put him against Lashley.
Do you think we'll see Orton and The Fiend at WrestleMania after The Fiend comes back to life from being burnt to death at the TLC pay-per-view?
You see, I just got to say this. You know, thank God Vince has said it's entertainment. If the Fiend is burned to death, then what's he going to be? Now it'll be the Phoenix Fiend, because the Phoenix Fiend will rise from the ashes.
Little Greek mythology, baby.
Oh, please. You know what?
I love The Fiend, as you can see over your shoulder, fans, on one of the cameras in the control room. You have that beautiful 18 by 24 drawing that Tony made of The Fiend over there. Have you ever seen that one?
No, it's nice.
Isn't that nice? Imagine how much time he must have taken to...
All dots.
Weeks.
I commissioned him to do a picture for the Kowloon with Andy Wong in it. It's really...
I've seen it. It's
Have you
great.
seen-
Yeah.
Yep. It's awesome.
But honestly, I love The Fiend. I hate Bray Wyatt as Mr. Rogers, and I hate possessed Alexa Bliss, and I hate all those little puppets. I hate anything that has to do with the Firefly Funhouse. I wish Randy Orton lit the whole Funhouse on fire, and we never had to see it again. I have to deal with one puppet down here at the studio, and he's enough of an imbecile. You know who I mean. You've met him before. He belongs over there with the rest of the puppets. I don't like the puppets. I think it devalues The Fiend when they present this dangerous, evil man as an idiot.
If they want to continue with The Fiend, you remember the movies The Puppeteer?
No.
The Puppet Master?
Heard of it?
All the puppets began to come to life.
Well, I have a puppet that came to life down here, and he owes me about 13 grand. But...
What's another story for another time? Anyway, all I'm going to say is this. If he's out of Las Vegas, you might as well forget it. It's lost. I think that's the puppet you're talking about. But anyway, my whole thing is this. They could do a lot with Bray Wyatt. They could do a lot with The Fiend. I like the Funhouse.
You do?
If it's done right, it's got a little... People were buying into the gimmick.
When he does that Mr. Rogers style
They
videos,
were buying...
Really?
Yeah, but they were buying into it. You know what it's all about? It's not about what you like.
Right,
It's not
the
about what I like. We have a right to our opinion. We have a right to agree to disagree and still be friends, which we do. And we do that with the fans. But I do believe that you saw most of the people buy into it. They enjoyed it.
I thought for the first few weeks when they introduced it and it was new and it was kind of a mystery before they even revealed Fiend and what Fiend was, when it was just Bray, doing all those nicey nice, and then towards the end, the face would kind of get bizarre and he'd go, let me in.
I want him back. I want the Fiend back.
I want
do.
Fiend. I don't want Mr. Rogers, Bray Wyatt.
Well, maybe we now have the Fiend with somebody who has an urn, because now the life of the Fiend is contained like it was for the Undertaker in the urn. You know, there's a lot of rebirth, a lot of rewrite.
Maybe there's some ashes of the Fiend in an urn somewhere.
Well,
after
but
what
you know
happened.
what? I don't think the writers really can see their hand in front of their face. Take a look at the storyline. It would work.
Well, I tell you this, Johnny, his name came up in a conversation recently as another one of those that are going to be on the milk cartons as far as where have you been. Bo Dallas, who remains under contract to WWE, the brother of Bray Wyatt.
Yep.
I mean, you know, you talk about one guy, and again, we're going off topic, but someone that if you have ever gone to a house show, a non-televised WWE event, and you get to see the man work without the televised restrictions, timing, and so on and so forth, you talk about someone I think they've missed the boat with. I mean, I don't know if he's, again, the main event and the face of the company, but there is so much that could be done with Bo Dallas if they ever took a serious approach with him. He got himself into good shape. He had a good tan the last time we had seen him. You know, he looked like not just a good professional wrestler. He started to look like a superstar that could be featured. I think Bo Leave, they did the comedy with him, and they did the that foursome faction where they were a bunch of undercard guys, Heath Slater, and you remember that?
Slater's gone. He's you know what?
And then they did B Team, go with Curtis Axel, and I mean, you know what? Ha ha for a few minutes, but you're taking a guy that could be up towards the top of your cards and making a joke out of him. Yep. I mean, you talk about a guy I'd love to book if he was ever available. I remember we used to have conversations like that probably 12 years ago about Carlito, and I said, if he's ever free of WWE obligations, I'd love to book him because there's just so much that WWE isn't giving the fans that I think they'd enjoy. Another example that they're finally, I think, starting to get it right about is Apollo Crews with his recent heel turn. When you'd see Apollo Crews work the non-televised events where you don't have necessarily that television time restriction, and I hate to say that you're controlled by how WWE presents it with its different camera angles and so on, but with any television show, I think you're almost guided with how you view it. I think when you go to a non-televised WWE event, which is part of the reason why I always encourage them so much, is you're the camera. You decide what you look at and how you want to view it. And I always saw so much potential in Apollo Crews, and I've thought for years now there's so much that could be done with Bo Dallas as a heel on Raw or SmackDown. Even if they sent him back to NXT to try and give him a fresh coat of paint, there is a guy they could be making a lot more money off of than they have, in one man's opinion. I think he's not excellent, I think he's outstanding.
Well, apparently somebody doesn't agree with you.
Well, hey, you know what? They finally took him a few years, but they're finally doing it with Apollo Crews.
There you go.
Now that he has apparently developed an accent, and his grandfather had 5 Nigerian wives, he's in for a much bigger push than he had before. But an all-around great athlete. I mean, not the tallest guy in the world, but I mean, he's in great physical condition, and he can go when that bell rings. I like Apollo Crews. I like the fact that I would have put him in the Hurt Business, but I don't know if he could have been the descendant of the Nigerian king that had the 5 Nigerian wives. It almost sounds like your life story back in the 60s.
Right.
Anyways, folks, to circle back to where we actually began, if you had that magic pencil, what would Bobby Lashley's destination at WrestleMania be?
I don't know. Why don't they tell us?
Oh, I'm asking for your opinion.
Well,
the fans can always chime in during the live premiere.
I'm telling you, my opinion is, I think we've already discussed it. There are several opponents out there that I think would work. I like Brock Lesnar and Bobby Lashley. That would be an outstanding match. The fans would really enjoy that. You've got 2 MMA fighters in there, not only professional wrestlers, but guy who's really mixed it up. Get them out there. Let them do their thing. I think that would be awesome. The only question I have is, what's the finish going to be?
I don't think I don't think Lesnar wants to come back just to do a job. You know what I mean?
And I don't think he should.
Right.
I really don't. I think that man deserves more than that. And so what are you going to do, though? It doesn't do anything for the fans to bring a superstar back like Brock Lesnar for 5 appearances. 4, it doesn't work.
Right.
Any more than you brought Goldberg back.
I know you don't like that. Oh, how about Bobby and Goldberg for the championship? at
Okay,
Wrestle-
that's it. You know what? I was here with you for the Royal Rumble. I watched the match with McIntyre and Goldberg, and as I said before, I wouldn't want to mix it up with Goldberg on my best day. He's got it. The guy is jacked. He's got it. But you know what? There reaches a point in life where you have to look at the sun and maybe ride off. And I mean, look, I'm just going to say.
He's got a minimum of 3 matches left between now and the end of 2022.
Yeah, well, you know what? Let him get and wrestle himself. That'll be the best thing he could do.
Well, Lanny
That ought to get the fans back, right?
Lanny Poffo's done it, so I guess it could be said for anybody.
Yeah, but he's in Ecuador now. Why'd he go to Ecuador?
More privacy on the beach.
Oh, all right. Okay, here we go.
I personally want to see Lashley Lesnar.
Oh, yeah,
But again, I think it's almost a waste if you bring Lesnar in just to do the job and then nothing else. I'm not particularly enticed by Lashley and McIntyre because I have a feeling if you go that route, McIntyre gets the belt back again, and Lashley's long-awaited championship reign is very, very short. If it was me, if I had the magic pencil, if WWE welcomed me into the creative meetings, I would push for Bobby Lashley to have a very, very lengthy run with that belt. You know what? Again, he doesn't look it, but Bobby's a little long in the tooth. He's got several years on eye, believe it or not, even though he's the much better conditioned of the two of us. I don't think there's many that would argue that Dan Marati's in better shape than Bobby Lashley, but there may be a few blind people out there watching. I don't know. But I'd try and go with Bobby until it fails. Like I would have let them go with McIntyre until it was proven that the fans really weren't all that behind him. You know what I mean? That ship has sailed, though. They've had McIntyre lose a few times. He's lost the championship a few times. He's won it a couple of times. Okay, we've seen it. We've been there. It didn't increase television ratings, that's for sure. But again, not McIntyre's fault. Look at the conditions he won the title under, in front of no fans, a WrestleMania in an empty warehouse, pay-per-views in front of television screens. He never really had the chance to get that organic feedback. So I would be very interested in that, but where they've waited so long to pull the trigger on Bobby, I wouldn't end the experiment, so to speak, quickly.
If they did, Lashley would become a mid-carder. If they pull the rug out from under him now at WrestleMania, he's going to go right down to mid-card, and then they'll be bye-bye Bobby. That's the sad part about it. Take an athlete of that caliber, do the job, and then bing, bing, bing. Just doesn't make sense to me.
If you want a perfect blueprint on what you just described on not how to do it, look at how the mighty Braun Strowman has fallen the past couple of years with just bad creative over and over and over again. His WrestleMania destination looks to be Shane O'Mac. You talk about going to the well one too many times. And I mean, we're not talking about the body of water that the Fiend came out of to drown Braun back at Extreme Rules in July.
I have nothing but good words for Shane O'Mac.
Great words.
Let me tell you something. He is the best of the best. But at the same time, aren't you getting tired of it? We'll bring Shane O'Mac in to save the day. Braun Strowman will look like an ass. I might put him over. You know what? They failed. Braun Strowman was the giant. He was the killer.
Believable.
He was because he had the look. He had it. They ruined him. They destroyed him. And now there's no way to save him.
Well, I don't know if that's necessarily the case, but at this point, it's a long-term reclamation project.
Yeah,
there's
a
lot of time.
couple of years before you could bring it back.
And I don't think Shane O'Mac is. I think Shane McMahon is a great character.
Let me tell you.
But I tell you this: when they present him as it's kind of an inside joke that I use with people. I say like Stone Cold, because it's almost like he runs out and he gives everybody the stunner and he runs off the hero. I don't know what it is about Shane McMahon where they present him on TV that he can't be, not tougher than the WWE superstars that are on the active roster. He has to be an equal, if not tougher than them. He's always stone cold, you know what I mean? Yep. And I like the guy an awful lot. I think as a human being, he's a great person.
He and his dad.
And I think he is very underrated as far as his in-ring work goes for someone that's so limited. But at the same time, should he be going tit for tat with the top guys in the company? Never. Never.
No. I used to like
If you hear me, you hear me. I loved it when Vince would tag with Shane. Those matches were outstanding. There was a lot of fun there. There was a lot of build-up. People love that kind of stuff. I'd like to see that happen if Vince ever decides to get back in the squared circle.
I read something on the, I don't know if you're familiar with the online forum Reddit. Have you ever heard of it?
I've heard it, but never.
Well, there was, internet rumor and lore that you were involved in, that you actually taught him how to do that little dance when he runs out onto the set. No, that didn't.
No. I take absolutely no credit for that. I think that was designed by Hogswallow when he had to go to the bathroom one day. He was out there trying to, and they caught. No offense, Hogswallow. Another great human being. I'm sure we get a program coming up, and I'm going to digress for 1 second.
Okay.
I can't wait to talk about Big Show's jump.
Oh, we're going to talk about that on the next episode.
Yeah, I'm just telling you. I hope we're going to do it.
Oh, we are. Oh,
the fans got to be waiting for that
next Friday night, baby.
Wow.
But, Johnny, Bianca Belair, who we watched win a very forgettable Women's Royal Rumble, has decided to cash in her opportunity in Tampa, Florida against Sasha Banks for the SmackDown Women's Championship. You taught me that the long hair coming out of her head is called a cue,
right,
which I never knew.
Right.
It was a learning experience for me, Royal Rumble night. Who do you see leaving Tampa, Florida as the SmackDown Women's Champion?
Not Sasha Banks.
You think it'll be Bianca?
Absolutely.
That leads me to a question from a fan, Patty Bratsos from Medford, Massachusetts. I didn't say Braless, I said Bratsos. She watched Sasha Banks' interview with Stone Cold Steve Austin, where she admitted after WrestleMania 35, when she was asked to lose the Women's Tag Team Championship, she, quit and asked for a release, which Vince refused. He asked her to consider it for 30 days, and then she took even longer for 30 days to give him her decision. Do you trust Sasha Banks to lose the championship and then not want to quit?
You know what? I think the world of Sasha Banks.
I know you do.
You know what? I really do, and I hope she knows that, and her husband also, Kid Mikaze. I think the world of both of them. But I'll tell you what. In this business, if you're asked to do the job, you don't question it, you do it, and you're big enough in this business to realize that you're putting somebody over that needs to be over because you are moving either up, sideways, or down. And if she refused to do the job or does the job and then says, I'm going to quit, in the words of the great Vince McMahon, I would say, you don't have to quit. You're fired.
You would have got rid of her.
You know what? Let me put it to you this way. Vince is a very intelligent man. He's not where he is by being a fool. To give her what he gave her, that extension on time, says a lot about the man recognizing the talent. But you know what? Do me once, shame on you. Do me twice, shame on me. You know what? If you can do it, what's to prevent every other superstar from pulling the same thing? So you know what? Now it's my turn to pull the trigger, and if you want to play that little game, well, you wouldn't let me play in the sandbox my way, guess what? Get out of the sandbox. There's room for other women who want to bust their ass to get to the top. No offense, Sasha, you know where I'm coming from. I've always been straightforward and right up front. And that's my take on it, brother.
Well, the day after that WrestleMania 35 in New York, she was slated to do a talk show appearance, and her feelings were so hurt she couldn't do that. Now, we've talked about The Miz. You know your son's schedule from his peak in WWE. Could you imagine him turning down doing WWE booked media appearances because he lost a wrestling match?
Let me tell you something. You know what? You either understand this business and you're part of it and you do what you have to do. Ladies and gentlemen, it's entertainment. Some of these people in this business don't understand that word. Sorry, Tony. That's okay. They don't understand.
It's taking a while.
They don't understand that word, entertainment. You know what? Win, lose, or draw. That's why people say to me, oh, look at that guy. He lost the belt. Excuse me. It's entertainment. It's a story. It's a storyline. You know, that's how it goes here. When you don't put asses in seats, you lose the belt. When you can't do the job you're supposed to, you lose the belt. Let's grow up. Let's be real here. Let's do what we need to do for the benefit of this business. I've said this 100 times with you. and podcasts. I just did 2 podcasts 2 weeks ago, and I said the same thing. You know what's wrong with the business? It's not we, it's I. And that's sad.
There's no I in team.
Well, I see it when I work on the indies. I love working with these young men and women who allow me to work with them and manage them and have fun, getting that ring and doing their thing. But as one young wrestler said to me, who we won't talk about because you know how I feel, how else could I get my shine? It wasn't about you. It was about a giant squashing you in 2 minutes. But you had to take 7 minutes so you could get your shine over. Tell me what you did for the business besides destroy a character.
Well, WrestleMania, it's shaping up to be an interesting event, Johnny. Other than what we've already discussed, there's going to be what appears to be Damian Priest, the newcomer to the Raw roster, along with the singer Bad Bunny, who was popular to some, taking on Miz and Morrison in a tag team match.
I say kill the rabbit.
Is there anything that you'd like to see at WrestleMania this year we haven't discussed?
No, you know what? Because
there's nothing.
Unless they're going to come up with something unique and different that makes sense. I've been to a lot of WrestleManias. Thank you, Vince. Thank you, John Cena Jr. Very kind to me in WWE. But it seems to be now it's the same old thing. There's no real surprise, no real shock factor. So I don't know. I say you want to really do something big, Lashley and Lesnar. You want to do something big, Roman Reigns and Edge. I'm going to tell you something. I can't wait if they do both those matches. I can't wait because I tell you what, it probably won't happen, but I hope the R-rated superstar comes out with the belt. I really do. That man is outstanding, as is Roman Reigns. But just think of this. If he wins that belt, the R-rated superstar, think of the future storylines you've got for the next 3 or 4 months. And they don't look at that. They don't look at that. I'd be really up for that. Women's, Asuka, I think she should be in that mix somewhere.
Well, it appears she's going to be, as it's been discussed on TV now, Charlotte Flair wants that match. By the time this episode airs, I don't know what may or may not have been changed, but Asuka lost a tooth due to Herman Munster, Shayna Baszler laying one in with that powerful forehead.
Right.
And that's a shame that the woman had to lose a tooth. But as they say, it's not ballet. I'd rather see someone out there working snug than working, like we've said before, cosplay wrestling, where the offense doesn't look like it would crack an egg.
Look at some of these guys out there, really and truly.
Yeah.
You missed, you never kicked. Come on, please, let's be real. So that's all I'm saying. I'm looking forward to WrestleMania.
Will you be in Tampa, down at Wrestle House?
I'll have to
I know you have your own estate down there, but, I know you do leave once or twice in the limo.
Let's put it this way. Never say never.
Possibly. Potentially.
No, never say never.
All right. Well, I know the fans will be disappointed if your son is not there.
Well, there's a whole different story.
I know he's filming a movie or a TV show in Canada right now.
I don't speak for my son. John speaks for himself. I don't get involved in his business. He doesn't get involved in mine. The only thing I can say is this, and I hope I don't offend anybody, or I hope I'm not talking out of turn. I think it would be very difficult for WWE, very difficult if he is shooting for a movie, because you got to remember, quarantine is still quarantine. So if you're shooting, you come down and do WrestleMania, some of these countries are saying, wherever you're shooting, it's a 30-day quarantine. Right. So I think trying to balance the best of both worlds, that's up to him, whoever he's working with and for in the WWE. Would I like to see him back in the ring? I think so.
Where they have, in quarantine, or in Corona times, I should say, the ability to be a little bit more creative than they will post-Corona when you have to deal with live fans, maybe they could send a ring to Canada and an opponent up to Canada.
If he's in Canada. Well, you never know. I don't know. When I say this to you,
you don't know where the man is.
I have no idea.
You have no idea
what he's doing. No, I don't. I don't get involved in that.
Hopefully he's alive.
I have 5 sons. He is alive. I know that. I have 5 sons. My sons are all champions to me.
Yes.
I respect every one of them. John, is no different than any other of them. He puts his pants on one leg at a time. And so I love
That's
him
what
dearly.
Mark Goes said about you. You taught them
I
well,
love my
apparently.
son John dearly. He does a lot for me. I had so much fun doing the run with him in WWE. But as far as where he is, what he's doing, I know not.
Now, a lot of the fans have been messaging Mattel, when is the 2-pack coming? Senior and junior, the 2-pack.
You know what? Now you really hit a sore spot there because
You want it.
I suggested when we were doing the thing with Orton and Edge, I did suggest a 2-pack. I think that would have sold really good.
They made one with Scooby-Doo. Why not John Cena Sr.?
Scooby-Doo! Yeah, well, John Cena Sr., by the way, there were only 4 Johnny Fabulous dolls made. I have one. One
But they
action
weren't
figure.
Mattel.
No, they weren't Mattel. Unfortunately, I gave away 3.
Really?
Yep, and well, 2 of them were auctioned off for Make-A-Wish Shriners Burn Center. So those are the 2 charities I deal with, Make-A-Wish and Shriners Burn Center. But I have 1 left. Maybe next time I do the show, I'll bring one in.
Yeah, well, I'd love to see it, even if we just
I
put
think
it on the
Mattel,
show.
it's now, I don't know how it would go over, whether fans would respond to that or not. Unless you're in a storyline, I don't think it would go. I think they missed the boat.
All right, wrestling fans, we are running out of time on this episode. The road to WrestleMania, it is probably the best time of the year to be a wrestling fan. WWE tries to come up with some grade A quality material for you week in, week out. It's going to be interesting to see all the twists and turns that lead us to Raymond James Stadium in beautiful Tampa, Florida. I can't wait to get down there to our Boston wrestling house, so to speak, with all the great guests we have booked to come in for you that week. More news to come. For John Cena Sr., Mr. Adam West himself, I am Dan Marati.
Pow!
Don't forget, if you're chatting, let us know what you thought of SmackDown earlier tonight. Your thought on the show tonight here. Give us a big thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. Of course, the eBay store is open 24/7, even if the nightlife is a little quiet right now. And that Patreon service, Johnny, hundreds of ad-free studio shoot interviews, early access to all of the regular talk shows, Patreon exclusive episodes, plus you help bring the legends to this fine studio and keep them working at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling.
Yes.
For Vince's buddy John, I'm Dan. We'll see you next Friday night on Fabulous Fridays. Good night.
The World Wrestling Federation was live at the Arrowhead Pond in Anaheim, California, Sunday, March the 12th, 1995. In the opening contest, Kwang beat Gary Key. Hakushi victorious over the 1-2-3 Kid. WWF Women's Champion Bull Nakano retained the title over Alundra Blaze. Bob Backlund defeated Bob Holly. WWF World Champion Diesel and Razor Ramon defeated Shawn Michaels and WWF Intercontinental Champion Jeff Jarrett via disqualification when Psycho Sid interfered. The Blue Brothers with the win over the New Head Shrinkers. The Undertaker beat Bam Bam Bigelow, and Bret Hitman Hart victorious over Owen Hart in a no-holds-barred match. If you were in Anaheim live, share your memories in the comment section below. Use the links in the description box to keep Wrestling Legends working in our eBay store and on our acclaimed Patreon streaming service so we can bring you more interactive superstar shoot interviews to relive the good old days of professional wrestling. Check it out. Boston Wrestling Sports in the MWF explodes into a new year with professional wrestling content galore and need you to join our family. Every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. after our Monday Night Raw review, it's Wrestling Insiders at your house with WWE Hall of Famer Mr. USA Tony Atlas. Wednesday nights at 10 p.m. after NXT and AEW, join rotating legends on Wrestling Insiders Special Edition. Every Thursday night at 10 p.m. after our NXT and Dynamite review, it's Marty Jannetty's no-holds-barred sex, drugs, and rock and roll journey on Wrestling Insiders Party with Marty. Friday night after SmackDown, don't miss John Cena Sr.'s Wrestling Insiders Fabulous Fridays. Plus, look for classic clips, history videos, bonus live episodes, pay-per-view watch-alongs, and more. For less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks, get early ad-free access to our Wrestling Insider talk shows, our acclaimed studio shoot interview DVD library, and help keep wrestling legends working during the worst of times. Join our growing family at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. Expect the unexpected in 2021. Another Saturday night I'm proud to say I got to enjoy with you fine folks. As always, interested in your thoughts on the show. If you're with us during the premiere Saturday night, share your thoughts in the comment box on the right-hand side of the screen, or if you're watching after the facts, in the comment section below. Our road to Tampa has begun, as we're lining up a plethora of superstar guests for your enjoyment, but need your help to make it happen. Give us a big thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, share the link to our videos across social media, anywhere online where fans are interested in wrestling. If you have the means, the Super Chat button is open for business to help us keep the lights on. The eBay store is open for business 24/7. The link is in the description box below for all that great merchandise. And join the family on Patreon at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. You get the early ad-free access to all 4 of our weekly Wrestling Insider talk shows, our acclaimed studio shoot interview DVD library, Patreon-exclusive content, and know that you personally are directly helping keep wrestling legends working, all for less than a price of over... How's that? Geez, Dan, you really are tight. It's getting late on Saturday night. All for less than a cup of overpriced coffee at Starbucks. Again, that link, patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. We thank you very much for joining us tonight for what should be a great week ahead as we continue down that road to WrestleMania. We'll be back tomorrow with history and flashback videos. Until then, you and yours be well, stay healthy, have a great night, and don't forget, it's daylight savings time.